Chapter 4087. It's hard to say. Zhen Yunfeng shook his head in response to his son's question. All I can say is that the people from the Myriad Art Academy and the Rainbow Phoenix Pavilion won't come. The other forces might send people over. The younger generation with a mix of good and bad are more likely to come. As for the younger generation, although they have geniuses who are not inferior to Duanling Tian, who would complain about having too few geniuses in their own sect. Moreover, even if they have geniuses who are not inferior to Duanling Tian, what did Duanling Tian do when he was young? If Duanling Tian was nurtured by them since he was young, wouldn't he be stronger now? Zhen Yunfeng said a lot, which made Zhen Pingfan nod and shake his head sometimes. Father, you can't say that. Zhen Pingfan shook his head and smiled. Although Duanling Tian was born in the mundane realm and his foundation is not as strong as the young prodigies from heavyweight ultimate god's forces, he has to rely on himself for everything. He has encountered many fortuitous encounters along the way, and that's how he became who he is today. On the other hand, the young prodigies from heavyweight ultimate god's forces don't have the qualifications to go out on their own. Their elders won't let them go out either. If a heavyweight ultimate god's force sets their young prodigies free and allows them to search for fortuitous encounters on their own, with their help they might become even stronger. Of course, if they set their young prodigies free, their lives might be in danger. No godly venerable faction would take such a risk. Zhen Pingfan's words made Zhen Yunfeng nod repeatedly. Indeed, there were pros and cons to each. Naturally, he knew very well how rare it was for someone like Duanling Tian to rise to such heights from the mundane realms. Perhaps, even the strongest powerhouses from the mundane realms or Devata realms could not compare to Duanling Tian at such a young age. Perhaps they were not as good as Duanling Tian? I suddenly feel. Zhen Yunfeng's eyes flashed. Zhen Yunfeng's eyes flashed as he smiled. Based on the current situation, Duanling Tian has the potential to become a supreme powerhouse. Moreover, he has great potential. It had to be said that Zhen Yunfeng's words caused Zhen Yunfeng to be involuntarily stunned. Duanling Tian? Utmost powerful warriors? To be honest, from the past until now he had never thought about this. In Chunyang School, there was only one person who he thought might have a chance to become an omnipotent master. That person was his martial uncle, Yi Qinfeng, a person who was about the same age as him. 10,000 years ago Yi Qinfeng was even weaker than him. 10,000 years later, he had left him far behind, to the point where he could easily kill him with a single sword strike. And now Yi Qinfeng's improvement was even more exaggerated than his. Such a person was a monster. Even if he became an ultimate powerhouse in the future, he wouldn't be too surprised. But Duanling Tian, after all, he was only a divine emperor. Although his talent and perception were extraordinary in his eyes, he was still inferior to him. And now, when his father mentioned this, he thought about Duanling Tian's current strength and then thought about Duanling Tian's age and only felt a chill down his spine. Duanling Tian's current combat strength was far beyond his 10,000 years ago, let alone Yi Qinfeng. And now, Duanling Tian had also been improving rapidly. Compared to Yi Qinfeng's improvement in the past 10,000 years, Duanling Tian's improvement was even more exaggerated. If he really wanted to talk about it. So far, Duanling Tian's talent and perception were even more exaggerated than his martial uncle Yi Qinfeng's. Moreover, although martial uncle Yi is a monster, no heavyweight ultimate god level forces have come to recruit him. But Duanling Tian this time, there may be many heavyweight ultimate god level forces coming to recruit him. In terms of the current situation, Duanling Tian's potential is far beyond martial uncle Yi's. The possibility of him becoming an ultimate powerhouse is also greater. Of course, it was only a possibility. Zhen Pingfan was very clear that the weaker a person was, the easier it was for them to die prematurely. Moreover, geniuses now did not mean that they could continue to be geniuses. There was a possibility of them going downhill. Although there were no geniuses now, it did not mean that there would be room for further improvement in the future. For example, his martial uncle Yi was the model of this type of person. In short, in this world, anything was possible. I really didn't think too much about this. Zhen Pingfan smiled bitterly. Although I thought that Duanling Tian was a monster, he was only a divine emperor after all. I didn't think of him as an ultimate powerhouse. But now, after hearing father's words, I seem to understand why heavyweight ultimate god level forces came to recruit him so quickly. If Duanling Tian was a woman, perhaps the Ni Changfeng Pavilion would have come to him long ago. The Ni Changfeng Pavilion is actually more thirsty for talent than the other heavyweight ultimate god level forces. In this regard, Zhen Pingfan could completely understand. For a sect that had always only recruited female disciples to be able to survive for so many years until now, it was obvious how difficult it was. However, the Anai Changfeng Pavilion was still standing strong. Its peak combat strength was not inferior to the other heavyweight ultimate god-level forces. The other ultimate god-level forces had many people and a strong foundation, so it was normal for them to have some experts. But the Anai Changfeng Pavilion had few people and a small foundation. Relatively speaking, the possibility of them having experts was even lower. Someone else has come. While Zhen Pingfan was still lamenting, Zhen Yunfeng raised an eyebrow and said with a smile, "Which force are they from?" Zhen Pingfan asked curiously. "The Mon-Origin sect." Zhen Yunfeng said. "The Mon-Origin sect?" Hearing Zhen Yunfeng's words, Zhen Pingfan frowned instead. "Father, this Mon-Origin sect doesn't seem to have a good reputation, right? In this world where the strong are respected, it's normal for the weak to obey the strong, but generally the strong will not find trouble with the weak. I heard that a few thousand years ago, the Mon-Origin sect wanted to recruit a disciple. After the other party rejected them, they did not touch the other party. Instead, they destroyed the other party's entire sect. Later, that person became a rogue cultivator and took revenge on the Mon-Origin sect many times. Many of the Mon-Origin sect members were killed, until 1,000 years ago when the Mon-Origin sect fished him out and killed him." Zhen Pingfan said, "This is just hearsay. I don't know if it's true or not." "It's true." Zhen Yunfeng nodded. "No matter how you put it, the Mon-Origin sect has always been stuck between good and evil. The way some of them conduct themselves is actually not acceptable to many people and forces. However, since he didn't provoke them, most people are just here to watch the show. The extremists in the Mon-Origin sect are not stupid. They won't provoke people they can't afford to provoke, so it doesn't affect the Mon-Origin sect that much." Zhen Yunfeng said. "Let's not tell Duan Lingtian about this first, lest he rejects the Mon-Origin sect because of this. If the Mon-Origin sect members know that he rejected because of this, they might hold a grudge. It's not a good thing for him." At this point, Zhen Yunfeng gave Zhen Pingfan a stern look and admonished him. Zhen Pingfan was a little embarrassed when he heard this. "You said it?" Zhen Yunfeng frowned. Yes. Zhen Pingfan was a little embarrassed. A few days ago when the jade slip he gave Duan Lingtian mentioned the Mon-Origin sect, it also described the rumors he had just said. Of course, he also told Duan Lingtian that he could not be sure if it was true. But he also said that there was no smoke without fire, so the credibility was not low. "You are too reckless." Zhen Yunfeng shook his head. "Although I don't have much contact with that little guy, I can see that it's impossible for him to associate himself with the Mon-Origin sect. Take advantage of the moment when the Mon-Origin sect members have just arrived and send him a message. Tell him to be natural when he rejects the Mon-Origin sect. If they ask for the reason, don't mention those things, lest they bear a grudge." Zhen Yunfeng's tone became a lot more stern. "This is not a good thing for him." "Father." Zhen Pingfan frowned. "It shouldn't be that bad, right? Even if Duan Lingtian doesn't join the Mon-Origin sect, he'll definitely join other heavyweight forces and have a promising future. How dare the Mon-Origin sect fall out with him like this? Aren't they afraid that Duan Lingtian will get even with them when he becomes stronger in the future? By then, Duan Lingtian won't be the itinerant cultivator they killed 1,000 years ago. Duan Lingtian will also have a heavyweight ultimate god force behind him. At that time, Zhen Pingfan felt the Mon-Origin sect would know how to make the right choice. The person from a few thousand years ago did not have a powerful background, so it was not a big deal if his sect was annihilated. However, how could Duan Lingtian be the same? They didn't leave any evidence behind. How do you know it's them? Zhen Yunfeng shook his head. He felt his son was too naive. Our Chunyang school isn't afraid of the Mon-Origin sect. After all, it's too obvious. Moreover, our Chunyang school isn't completely defenseless. What we should be worried about are Duan Lingtian's family and friends. Although the space tunnel between the realms of gods and the lower realms has been sealed, don't tell me there aren't people from the Devata realms in the Mon-Origin sect? They can use the void-piercing divine shuttle to return. It had to be said that Zhen Pingfan's expression turned solemn after hearing Zhen Yunfeng's words. As soon as Zhen Yunfeng finished speaking, Zhen Pingfan sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian. It was best to let Duan Lingtian know about this matter. Otherwise, if he did not inform Duan Lingtian in time and something really happened, he would feel guilty and blame himself. The Mon-Origin sect? If they're unhappy with me, they might attack my family and friends? Upon hearing Zhen Pingfan's voice transmission, Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed coldly. Was the Mon-Origin sect really that crazy? They didn't care about anything at all? After all, they were a heavyweight ultimate god force. This is just my father's speculation. He just wants you to be careful and be prepared. Don't you have a law clone in the lower realms? It's good to be careful. Zhen Pingfan reminded him. I understand. Thank you for the reminder, Elder Zhen. After cutting off the voice transmission with Zhen Pingfan, Duan Lingtian's expression turned solemn. He knew it was better to be safe than sorry. It was time for him to be prepared. Also, the people from the Mon-Origin sect are here? He's doomed to come here in vain. Chapter 4088. Master, Duan Lingtian is currently in closed-door cultivation. Do you want me to wake him up and ask him to come and greet you? It did not matter if it was someone from a heavyweight ultimate god faction who came to Chunyang School or someone from an ordinary ultimate god faction who came to Chunyang School. The first thing the higher-ups of Chunyang School said after welcoming them into Chunyang School and arranging a place for them to stay. These experts from ultimate god factions naturally did not ask them to wake Duan Lingtian up. Although Duan Lingtian might not be in closed-door cultivation and might be waiting for the various ultimate god factions to arrive before coming out and seeing which faction offered him the most bargaining chips, he would join. Even so, they could not really ask the people from Chunyang School to wake Duan Lingtian up. Not only would such an action be presumptuous, but it might also anger Duan Lingtian. Although Duan Lingtian's strength was nothing in their eyes and could even kill him with a slap, Duan Lingtian was someone their respective factions intended to invite, so they naturally did not dare to act rashly. If they angered Duan Lingtian and caused Duan Lingtian to refuse to join their factions, they would definitely be in trouble when they returned. Therefore, all the Ultimate God Forces experts were waiting patiently after they arrived. After all, Chunyang School had arranged a place for them to stay. There was no rush. Take your time. Even the two Ultimate God experts from Hanlin Divine Official Mansion and Mon-Origin Divine Sect waited patiently. No one had any complaints. At least on the surface there were no complaints. As for whether they had any in their hearts, only they themselves knew. Both Hanlin Divine Official Mansion and Mon-Origin Divine Sect are here, and they are all Ultimate God experts. Hanlin Divine Official Mansion sent a lower Ultimate God, Su Fong. Mon-Origin Divine Sect sent a lower Ultimate God as well. Since the Mon-Origin Sect and Hanlin Divine Office are here, what's the point of us staying here? The Hanlin Divine Mansion and the Mon-Origin Divine Sect are both heavyweight Ultimate God forces in the Shengang land, and they even have high-level Ultimate Gods. The strongest in our sect is only a mid-level Ultimate God, and there are only 2 of them. Why don't we send a message back and ask? If the sect wants us to go back, we will. Otherwise it's destined to be useless. Send the message. As the messages were sent out one after another, most of the Ultimate God forces who had arrived earlier had left. The rest were either hoping for a fluke or wanted to leave, but the forces behind them did not allow them to. They were told to stay and try again. Perhaps Duan Lingtian would choose them instead of the heavyweight Ultimate God forces? Although the chances were slim, it wasn't impossible. Even if it was just a small chance, they didn't want to miss it. Over the next few days, Chunyang School received a lot of uninvited guests. Among them, more than 90% were from heavyweight Ultimate God forces. After the Ultimate God experts from the Hanlin Divine Mansion and Mon-Origin Divine Sect arrived one after another, not only did a group of ordinary Ultimate God forces leave, but even some ordinary Ultimate God forces who were prepared to send people over did not give up on the idea. They knew very well that they could not compete with the heavyweight Ultimate God forces. Of course, there were still a few ordinary Ultimate God forces who were hoping for a fluke and sent people over. 9 of them came. No one came for the next month, and Chunyang School felt that no one else would come. Even so, there were more than a dozen heavyweight Ultimate God forces who came to Chunyang School. They came from 9 heavyweight Ultimate God forces. The Hanlin Divine Mansion, Mon-Origin Divine Sect, Jiwei Valley, Crimson Bright Heavenly Palace, Zhongling Grotto Heaven. These 9 heavyweight Ultimate God forces are all here. Looking at the entire Shengang land, there are only 16 heavyweight Ultimate God forces below the giant Ultimate God forces. Out of the 16 heavyweight Ultimate God forces, excluding the Neon Phoenix Pavilion and Myriad Arts Academy, there are only 14 left. 9 of the 14 heavyweight Ultimate God forces are here. This ratio is ridiculous. The other 5 heavyweight Ultimate God forces might still be on their way to Chunyang School. The arrival of the major Ultimate God forces could not be hidden from the people of Chunyang School. With the arrival of 9 heavyweight Ultimate God forces, the entire Chunyang School was stirred up. 9 heavyweight godly venerable level forces. Each force had sent a godly venerable rank expert this time. In total, there were 9 ultimate god experts. And in the pure Yang sect, there wasn't even a high god emperor, much less a godly venerable expert. Duan Lingtian, what a monster. Many Chunyang school disciples sighed. Although they knew that Duan Lingtian was talented, they did not expect Duan Lingtian to attract the attention of so many heavyweight ultimate god forces. That was a heavyweight ultimate god level force. They stood at the peak of the Shengang land. Among them there were superior god experts. A high-level ultimate god expert, they were second only to the strongest in this world. I wonder which ultimate god force Duan Lingtian will choose in the end. If I were him, I would definitely choose one of the heavyweight ultimate god forces. Those ordinary ultimate god forces are not as good as heavyweight ultimate god forces in every aspect. That's right. I heard that most of the non-heavyweight ultimate god forces have already left. If they didn't, there would be more people now. If an ultimate god force wants me, even if it's just a lower ultimate god, I'm willing to go. If you're willing to go, they won't want you. That hurts. Seeing that no one was coming for a long time, the decision-makers of Chunyang School were summoned for an emergency meeting. Now, it's time for Duan Lingtian to come out of seclusion, right? Previously, when they said that Duan Lingtian was in seclusion, they wanted to give the heavyweight ultimate god forces a fair chance to compete for Duan Lingtian. If the ultimate venerable level forces that arrived first were to take their people away, the ultimate venerable level forces that arrived later would definitely not be happy. If there was someone with a bad temper, they might become angry out of humiliation and blame the Pure Sun sect, or even attack the Pure Sun sect's upper echelons. It's time to come out of seclusion. Most people agreed. No one else will come. Even if someone does, we can't wait any longer. Now, the prodigies brought by a few heavyweight ultimate god forces are angry. Although it's only the young ones who are angry, we can't rule out the possibility that they were instructed by their elders to do so. They were worried that if they were angry, Duan Lingtian would look down on them and not join the forces behind them. That's why they instructed the young ones to do so. This is not impossible. Why don't we set a date for them to meet Duan Lingtian together in 10 days' time? At that time, they will state their conditions and see which force Duan Lingtian chooses. 10 days or half a month is fine. After a meeting, the date for Duan Lingtian to meet the people from the ultimate god forces was set to be half a month later. The reason why it was set to be half a month later was mainly because they were worried that more people would come later. When the people from the ultimate god forces received the exact date, no one made a fuss and all of them quietly waited for half a month's time. Half a month later? At the same time, Duan Lingtian also received a message from Yi Qinfeng. He did not have any objections to it. Half a month was fine. Recently, he had been comprehending the sword Dao and had gained a lot, so he was not in a hurry to move. However, since the higher-ups of Chunyang School had decided, then he would go according to the time they had arranged. Although he had won 4 spots for Chunyang School to enter the Sacred Land Secret Realm in this 7 Prefectures feast, he had also received a lot of benefits from Chunyang School. Coupled with the benefits from before, he was completely satisfied and did not feel that Chunyang School owed him anything. Myriad Law Academy. The only academy among the top forces in the Shengang land. This academy located in the depths of the mountains was like an otherworldly paradise. Everywhere in the academy, people could be seen communicating either through words or by sparring. This place was filled with an atmosphere of learning and improvement. Have you heard? An amazing person appeared in the 7 Prefectures feast, this time in the remote 7 Prefectures land. You mean Duan Lingtian, the disciple of the God Emperor level sect Chunyang School in Tunglung Province? That's him. Duan Lingtian is not even 3,000 years old, but he has already become a medium celestial emperor and mastered the law of space's second teleportation? Most importantly, he has mastered the sword Dao? This news is confirmed, so it can't be false. Most importantly, he's not a native of the Shengang land. He's from a Devata realm. It's said that he came from the mundane realm to the Devata realm and finally came to the Shengang land. It's hard to imagine that a nobody from the mundane realm could have such achievements. Did he obtain the inheritance of a supreme powerhouse? I don't know about that. However, everyone has their own fortuitous encounters. It has nothing to do with us whether he obtained the inheritance of a supreme powerhouse or not. Even if we wanted to, we don't have the strength to do so. That's right. Even among the younger generation in the Myriad Law Academy, there are very few people who are a match for him. What a pity. The academy won't send anyone to invite him to join. Otherwise, we would have had a chance to see that grassroots prodigy. We'll have a chance to see him in the future. This time, I'm sure he'll join a heavyweight force. I just received news from Chunyang School that 9 heavyweight godly venerable ones have sent godly venerable ones to Chunyang School to invite Duanling Tian to join. 9 heavyweight godly venerable ones? 9 godly venerable ones? That Duanling Tian is so important? Many young disciples in the Myriad Law Academy sighed when they talked about Duanling Tian. However, there were also a few who looked envious. Duanling Tian? No one saw a tall and handsome figure soaring into the sky above the Myriad Law Academy. In just a blink of an eye, he disappeared behind the clouds. Such achievements under the age of 1,000. How rare. Chapter 4089. In the Devata Realms. In the solitary destructive heaven. In the heavenly palace. Due to Zhen Pingfan's warning, Duanling Tian did not dare to be careless, so he told his master, Feng Qingyang, about this matter. To be more precise, it was Duanling Tian's law clone who told Feng Qingyang about this matter. What I mean is that Senior Hua Lao and Senior Meng Luo should leave. They haven't attained godhood, so they can't form their law clones. It's dangerous for them to stay here. After all, everyone knows I have a close relationship with them. Duanling Tian said. It's good to be careful. Feng Qingyang nodded. In that case, I'll ask them to stay out of the limelight for a while. I'll ask them to come back after this matter is over. Don't forget to inform the others as well. Don't forget that other than the solitary destructive heaven, there are also people from other Devata realms who are close to you. They might become targets of the Monorigin divine sect as well. Feng Qingyang said. I know. I'll visit the other Devata realms as well. Apart from those who have supreme powerhouses, I'll ask them to stay out of the limelight and stay out of the limelight. Duanling Tian had long expected this from Feng Qingyang. For this reason he felt a headache coming on. After all, he had met many people since he arrived in the Devata realms. Although he did not keep in touch with them, many people knew he was on good terms with them. Moreover, since his Law of Time clone was stationed in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, he had visited some of his old friends. For example, his old friends in the spirit overarching heaven and the pool palace in the boundless heaven. He had also visited some of his old friends from other Devata realms. During the next 2 weeks, Duanling Tian continued to comprehend the Sword Tao while his clones that were in the Devata realms traveled around the Devata realms. As long as it was someone who had a close relationship with him, he would purposely visit them and inform them of the reason so that they could find a place to lie low for a period of time. As for those who had a deep relationship with the Duanling Tian, they also obeyed the Duanling Tian and did not dare to slight him. Almost everyone left their respective forces at the first moment and went into hiding. Of course, they told Duanling Tian where they were hiding. Other than Duanling Tian, they didn't tell anyone else. As for those from the sect, they only told their fellow disciples that they were going on a long trip. Almost everyone had brought their families with them on this trip. Seeing this, Duanling Tian heaved a sigh of relief. All the people close to him had left, and all of them had brought their families with them. Even if the Monorigin spirit sect was angry and sent people from the lower planes, they would only end up empty-handed. Done. After Duanling Tian made arrangements for those who were close to him, half a month passed. In the Chunyang School in the profound Handle land. Duanling Tian walked out of his room and saw Zhen Yunfeng waiting for him outside. Zhen Pingfan and his son personally brought him over. Duanling Tian. Before leaving Cloud Peak Island, Zhen Pingfan solemnly warned Duanling Tian, I know you don't have a good impression of that person from the Monorigin spirit sect. However, when you see him later, you must act as though nothing has happened so that he won't think you have a problem with him and the Monorigin spirit sect. That's not a good thing for you. There are some people you don't have to offend even if you don't like them. After spending some time together, Zhen Pingfan had a certain understanding of Duanling Tian, so he was worried that Duanling Tian would treat the Monorigin spirit sect Ultimate God differently when facing a group of Ultimate God level experts later. I understand. Duanling Tian nodded. He naturally understood this principle. Although he looked down on the Monorigin spirit sect, he still had to put on a show. Next, Duanling Tian followed Zhen Yunfeng and Zhen Pingfan out of Cloud Peak Island and went to Chunyang School's main island. In a vast area they met people from various Ultimate God level factions. There were a total of more than a dozen people from 9 heavyweight Ultimate God level factions present. There were old people, middle-aged people, and young people. In addition, there were 4 people from 4 ordinary Ultimate God level factions present. 3 were old people and 1 was middle-aged. Zhen Yunfeng from Chunyang School's Yunfeng branch greets all the seniors. Zhen Yunfeng brought Duan Lingtian and Zhen Pingfan over and bowed to the group of ultimate god-level faction experts. Most of these experts were ultimate gods. A few were upper divine emperors. Zhen Pingfan followed suit and bowed. Duan Lingtian greets all the seniors. Zhen Yunfeng turned to Duan Lingtian and said, "These seniors are all experts from various ultimate god-level factions." In fact, as soon as Duan Lingtian appeared, the group of people from ultimate god-level factions had their eyes fixed on Duan Lingtian. Although this was the first time they met Duan Lingtian, they had never seen him in person. However, they had seen Duan Lingtian in the scryer projection mirror image and recognized Duan Lingtian at a glance. Duan Lingtian greets all the seniors. When Duan Lingtian bowed slightly to the group of ultimate god-level faction experts, he also noticed Yi Qinfeng and Lu Fenggu standing in a group of people. At the same time, he saw a dignified middle-aged man surrounded by a group of people. It was not difficult to guess that this was the schoolmaster of Chunyang School whom he had never met before today. He was also Zhen Pingfan's junior brother and Zhen Yunfeng's disciple. The man noticed Duan Lingtian's gaze and smiled kindly at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian. Almost as soon as Duan Lingtian's voice fell, an old man stepped forward and stared at Duan Lingtian. "I'm Su Feng, a lower ultimate god from the Mon-Origin sect. Today I invite you to join the Mon-Origin sect. As long as you join the Mon-Origin sect, we'll give you the treatment of a holy son." The most outstanding members of the Mon-Origin sect's younger generation were conferred the title of Holy Son and enjoyed all kinds of preferential treatment from the Mon-Origin sect. They were also extremely talented and powerful. The treatment of a Holy Son could be said to be the best in the Mon-Origin sect. In addition, our deputy leader of the Mon-Origin sect is willing to accept you as his disciple. Su Feng added. Su Feng thought Duan Lingtian would be overjoyed to hear his words. After all, the deputy leader of the Mon-Origin sect was a medium ultimate god. What he did not expect was Duan Lingtian merely smiled at him when he heard his words. There was no joy on his face at all. His gaze was calm and his expression was indifferent. Duan Lingtian. The people from the other ultimate god forces who were beaten to the punch by the Mon-Origin divine sect's elder, Su Feng, also spoke one after another and stated the conditions offered by the forces behind them. Among them, most of the factions offered better conditions than the Mon-Origin sect. Of course, Elder Su Feng saw this and added a further condition. He promised that as long as Duan Lingtian joined the Mon-Origin sect, he would give Duan Lingtian even more preferential treatment. "Elder Su, I'll definitely consider joining your sect." Duan Lingtian appeared sincere on the surface, but in his heart, he was disdainful and perfunctory. Due to the competition, the major ultimate god-level factions kept increasing their bargaining chips, all wanting to take Duan Lingtian as their disciple. In particular, the few ordinary ultimate god-level factions that did not have any advantages even announced that as long as Duan Lingtian joined their faction, he would be able to enjoy the best resources and treatment. It was not the best resources and treatment among the young disciples, but the best resources and treatment among the entire faction. The people from the major ultimate god-level factions were promising all kinds of conditions. The group of Chunyang School's higher-ups who were guarding the area were shocked and also realized that they were viewing the sky from the bottom of a well. Were all ultimate god-level factions this rich? And was Duan Lingtian that important in the eyes of these ultimate god-level factions? Why would they be willing to promise so many favorable conditions? Duan Lingtian. Elder Wang Chaoran of the Hanlin Divine Mansion looked at Duan Lingtian with a smile. "I'm sure you've heard. Among the major ultimate god-level factions present, I represent the Hanlin Divine Mansion to be the first to arrive. This shows the sincerity of the Hanlin Divine Mansion and my faction toward you. You won't regret joining the Hanlin Divine Mansion. As long as you perform well in the mansion, not to mention a medium ultimate god, even a high-level ultimate god as your master is not impossible." As soon as Wang Chaoran finished speaking, someone could not help but mock. "Wang Chaoran, now you're using the fact that you're the first to arrive as an excuse? Earlier the young man behind you spoke ill of Duan Lingtian outside many times. He even said that he was arrogant because he was pampered and pretended to be in closed-door cultivation, deliberately not coming out to meet you." The person who spoke now was also from a major ultimate god-level faction called the Kuiyuan Divine Mansion. Wang Chaoran's expression darkened as soon as the person finished speaking. At the same time, he glared at the person angrily with flames burning in his eyes. "Duan Lingtian? Duan Lingtian?" At this moment, The godly venerables and upper-ranked divine emperors from godly venerables' forces were no longer as haughty as they usually were. Instead, they behaved very amiably in front of Duanling Tian. Those who did not know better might even think that Duanling Tian was their direct descendant. Duanling Tian, we've said what we should say. Now it's up to you to choose. The ultimate god-level expert from the Crimson Light Heavenly Palace looked at Duanling Tian with a kind smile. I don't know about the other factions, but as for the Crimson Light Heavenly Palace, whether you choose to join us or not, we won't be dissatisfied with you. On the contrary, if you're unhappy with the faction you've chosen, you're welcome to join us at any time. Duanling Tian smiled inwardly when he heard the ultimate god-level expert's words. The ultimate god-level expert from the Crimson Light Heavenly Palace knew how to take a step back in order to advance. However, Duanling Tian was not a fool. It was not difficult for him to see through the ultimate god-level expert's intentions. Duanling Tian. At this moment, Su Fang's voice rang in Duanling Tian's ears. The Monarch Divine Sect has many disciples from the Devata realms. As for you, you're also from the lower Devata realms. Some of them managed to return to the Devata realms using the void-piercing divine shuttle. That's why they've heard about you. The young master of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven is indeed a dragon among men. Chapter 4090. It seems that Elder Su knows me very well. Duanling Tian was stunned for a moment when he received Su Fang's voice transmission. He then looked at the elder calmly and spoke in a calm tone. Of course, it was only his eyes and tone that were calm. Duanling Tian's heart was as gloomy as water at that moment. In the past, Duanling Tian did not have a good impression of the Mon-Origin Divine Sect because he had heard about their style of doing things from others. However, now that he was being threatened by an elder from the Mon-Origin Divine Sect, he finally understood what the Mon-Origin Divine Sect was capable of. One was marked by the company one kept. Perhaps the Mon-Origin Divine Sect style was the same. You know a little about it. Su Fang smiled faintly. Duanling Tian, you can consider our Mon-Origin Divine Sect. Of course, it's fine if you don't want to join us. After all, everyone has their own ambitions. Su Fang paused for a moment before continuing with a shake of his head. For a genius like you who is less than 1,000 years old and has such achievements, it would be a great loss for both you and the Mon-Origin Divine Sect if you don't join us. Less than 1,000 years old. It was unknown if Su Fang had done it on purpose, but he had emphasized these words. Duanling Tian sneered inwardly when he heard that. What a thorough investigation. It seems that the Mon-Origin Divine Sect came prepared this time. However, do you think I'll be afraid and join the Mon-Origin Divine Sect because I know you know my background? How naive. Ridiculous. However, although Duanling Tian did not plan to join the Mon-Origin Divine Sect, he had not yet decided which faction to join. This was because the people from each faction were very enthusiastic this time. Moreover, each and every one of them offered very good conditions. Of course, the ones with the best conditions were not the heavyweight Ultimate God factions, but the other Ultimate God factions. Duanling Tian could understand this. After all, compared to heavyweight Ultimate God factions, these ordinary Ultimate God factions were not very competitive. If the conditions they offered were not as good as the former, it was almost equivalent to coming in vain. At the very least, Duanling Tian could discern that these people's eyes were filled with hope. Duanling Tian, although your talent and comprehension are not bad, there's no shortage of geniuses like you in heavyweight Ultimate God forces. Although you have a presence in heavyweight Ultimate God forces, it's not to the point where no one in the younger generation can compare to you. If you join our sect, you will be the #1 disciple of the younger generation. The best resources of the sect will be given to you first. Duanling Tian, joining our sect is definitely better than joining a heavyweight Ultimate God force. Duanling Tian. At this moment, Duanling Tian's ears were filled with voice transmissions from ordinary Ultimate God forces. They were using all sorts of methods to rope him in. Obviously, after seeing Duanling Tian's indifferent attitude, they all felt a sense of crisis. Duanling Tian. Zhongling Grotto Heaven was also one of the heavyweight Ultimate God factions in the mysterious gangland. This time it was an old man in his 70s who looked kindly at Duanling Tian. I have a great-great-granddaughter. She's not bad looking. If she stands next to you, she'll definitely be a perfect match. If you join our Zhongling Grotto Heaven, I'll introduce you to her. How about it? Then the old man deliberately transmitted his voice to Duanling Tian. My great-great-granddaughter is a real virgin. Duanling Tian was stunned at first, then could not help but smile bitterly. What was this? A honey trap? After that, Duan Lingtian finally understood the meaning of the phrase, 8 immortals crossed the sea to show their abilities. The people from various ultimate god factions all had a glib tongue and wanted to abduct him. Well, invite him to join their factions. Duan Lingtian suspected that these people were specially selected by their factions to be more eloquent. In the end, Duan Lingtian also felt that it was a little difficult to choose. He naturally would not consider joining an ordinary ultimate god faction. As for the remaining 9 heavyweight factions, he would not consider the Mon-Origin divine sect. As for the other 8, although he was not particularly interested in some of them, they did not make him feel bad either. However, so far, Duan Lingtian was more interested in the 3 factions based on the introduction in the Jade Slip given by Jinping Fan. Crimson Light Heavenly Palace, Zhongling Grotto Heaven, 9 Mammoth Valley. Of these 3 heavyweight factions, the first 2 had very outstanding young heavens prides of the current generation and were not inferior to Duan Lingtian. The reason why he wanted to join them was because the secret realms in these 2 factions would be of great help to his future cultivation. Any heavyweight faction had its own secret realms. In fact, rather than calling them secret realms, it was more accurate to say that once the heaven and earth spirit energy in the divine crystal mine had reached a certain level, a formation master would gather it with a formation and use the heaven and earth spirit energy in various ways to form a place that could assist in cultivation. Out of these 2 factions, one had a secret realm that was helpful in comprehending the law of space. The other faction had a secret realm that was helpful in comprehending the law of time. As for the last faction, 9 Mammoth Valley, it was because they did not have any outstanding young geniuses in their current generation. If he were to join them, he would certainly receive the greatest preferential treatment. The ultimate god elder from 9 Mammoth Valley had also promised Duan Lingtian that if Duan Lingtian was willing to join 9 Mammoth Valley, he could directly worship the Valley Master as his master. Although the Valley Master of 9 Mammoth Valley was not a high-level ultimate god and was only a medium ultimate god, he was still one of the best among the medium ultimate gods and was known as the number 1 person below the high-level ultimate god in 9 Mammoth Valley. How should I choose? Duan Lingtian muttered to himself. In fact, compared to 9 Mammoth Valley, he wanted to join Crimson Brightness Heavenly Palace or Zhongling Grotto more. However, he did not know how to choose between the 2. The current conditions offered by both factions were similar. At that moment, seeing Duan Lingtian's gaze sweeping back and forth between the 2 ultimate god experts from Crimson Brightness Heavenly Palace and Zhongling Grotto, the other ultimate god level factions also vaguely realized something. Those ordinary ultimate god level factions smiled bitterly and sighed before flying away. It was over. Duan Lingtian had obviously made his choice. As for whether he chose Crimson Brightness Heavenly Palace or Zhongling Grotto, it had nothing to do with them or the factions behind them. Duan Lingtian, our Mon-Origin sect is not inferior to Crimson Brightness Heavenly Palace and Zhongling Grotto. Su Feng's voice seemed to carry a sense of urgency by Duan Lingtian's ears. Did they secretly promise you something? Tell me, as long as our Mon-Origin sect can do it, we will not decline. At the same time as Su Feng's voice transmission, several other ultimate god experts from other ultimate god level factions could no longer sit still and transmitted their voices to Duan Lingtian. One by one they began to increase their bargaining chips. Obviously, they all thought that Duan Lingtian prioritized Crimson Brightness Heavenly Palace and Zhongling Grotto because they offered more bargaining chips. Just when Duan Lingtian realized that they had misunderstood the crowd's voice transmission, before he could speak, he could not help but frown as if he had vaguely sensed something. Who's there? As soon as Duan Lingtian sensed something, a thunderous voice rang in the air. It was the divine venerable powerhouses from the various divine venerable forces who had raised their heads to look at the sky. Their eyes were focused on the figure that had just appeared in the sky. At that moment, Duan Lingtian also realized what he had sensed and followed the crowd's gaze to look up. High up in the sky, a tall and handsome figure slowly descended from the sky. As he descended, his entire body was exposed in front of Duan Lingtian and the others. They could clearly see that the person was a young man, at least with a youthful appearance. However, that pair of eyes that had experienced the vicissitudes of life undoubtedly betrayed his age. Yang Yuchen. When the person appeared, the ultimate god expert from Crimson Brightness Heavenly Palace was the first to exclaim in surprise. At the same time, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Yang Yuchen? At that moment, the other heavyweight ultimate god experts also fixed their eyes on the white-robed young man standing in the air not far away. Their eyes were shining brightly. He's Yang Yuchen? Why is he here? Yang Yuchen. Myriad Art Academy's most outstanding heaven's pride in the past 100,000 years? This Yang Yuchen had a breakthrough and became a medium ultimate god when he just turned 20,000 years old. Many people say that he will enter the upper ultimate god realm within 10,000 years. While the ultimate god experts from the 9 heavyweight ultimate god factions were staring at the white-robed young man, some of the younger disciples brought by the ultimate god experts could not help but whisper to the people they knew through voice transmission. Yang Yuchen. This name was not unfamiliar to them. He was the monster of Myriad Art Academy. He was also the youngest vice palace master in the history of Myriad Art Academy. These people had grown up listening to stories about Yang Yuchen. However, they had only heard of this person in the past and had never seen him in person. And now, as their elders spoke the other party's name, they also knew that the person in front of them was the person who had only existed in rumors in the past, the Vice Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy. Why is he here? He won't come looking for Duanling Tian as well, right? Since when did Myriad Art Academy take the initiative to recruit people? I don't think so. I've never heard of any academy in the history of Myriad Art Academy taking the initiative to recruit. If he's really here to look for Duanling Tian and invite Duanling Tian to join Myriad Art Academy, then he's really breaking the history of Myriad Art Academy. He's always been good at breaking all kinds of records in Myriad Art Academy. Now that he's here to look for Duanling Tian, it's not impossible for Myriad Art Academy to break the history of not taking the initiative to recruit academies. This Yang Yuchen has always been a monstrous figure in Myriad Art Academy's history. Duanling Tian had naturally never heard of Yang Yuchen before. His understanding of heavyweight ultimate god factions in the Shengang land was limited to Zhen Pingfan's introduction and the memory jade slip that Zhen Pingfan had given him. Now, after hearing the whispers of the people around him, he knew the white-robed young man in front of him was Myriad Art Academy's Vice Palace Master, Yang Yuchen. Chapter 4091. Yang Yuchen, the Vice Palace Master of Myriad Law Academy. In the past, he was also a genius student who set various records in Myriad Law Academy. He stepped into the Emperor God realm before the age of 3,000. When he was 10,000 years old, he was already a high-level Emperor God who was trying to break through to the Ultimate God realm. He stepped into the Ultimate God realm when he was 10,000 years old. When he was 20,000 years old, he stepped into the Intermediate Ultimate God realm. Moreover, he had comprehended the Tao of Control, one of the 4 Tao of Heaven and Earth, and spent a lot of effort on it. In just 10,000 years he had stepped into the Ultimate God realm. The Tao of Control? He has mastered the Tao of Control? Duanling Tian subconsciously looked at Yang Yuchen when he heard the voices of the people around him. This was also the first expert he had met who had mastered the Tao of Control. Before this, he had only met experts who had mastered the Sword Tao. An expert who has mastered the Tao of Control. If he saw my scryer image from the 7 Prefectures banquet, he might be able to discover something. During the 7 Prefectures banquet, Duanling Tian had actually used the Tao of Control when he used the Law of Space, but it was more subtle. Moreover, the Tao of Control was not as high profile and obvious as the Sword Tao. If he did not deliberately show it, even the Emperor Gods present would not be able to discover it. Even an ordinary Ultimate God expert would not be able to discover it through the image. Of course, there was one type of Ultimate God expert, an Ultimate God expert who had mastered the Tao of Control. Greetings, Vice Palace Master Yang. Greetings, Vice Palace Master Yang. At this time, the juniors brought by the Ultimate God experts from the heavyweight Ultimate God factions had already bowed to the newcomer under the instructions of their elders. On the Chunyang school's side, the higher-ups present also followed suit and bowed to the newcomer. Looks like I'm not too late. Yang Yuchen was tall, handsome, and had an amiable smile. Then, his figure swayed as he stepped into the air and landed on an empty space in the blink of an eye. He then approached the crowd step by step. Vice Palace Master Yang. At this time, the Ultimate God expert from the Mon-Origin Divine Sect, Su Feng, glanced at Yang Yuchen with fear. You're not here to represent Myriad Law Academy to invite Duanling Tian to join, are you? Everyone immediately looked at Yang Yuchen after Su Feng's question. There had never been such a case in the Myriad Arts Academy. Taking the initiative to invite an outsider into the palace. One had to know that the Myriad Arts Academy had always been an academy-style academy with a very high degree of freedom. If you entered, you could leave at any time. Even if you didn't care about old friendships, the academy wouldn't say much. What the academy did was to impart the Tao and receive knowledge. Of course, when one reached a certain level of cultivation, especially when faced with the once-in-a-thousand-years heavenly tribulation, many people would actively guard against the appearance of inner demons. Once the inner demon appeared, it would be fine if he could defeat it, but if he couldn't, it would become a hindrance to him during the thousand-year heavenly tribulation. Many people, when facing the thousand-year heavenly tribulation because of the eruption of their inner demons, cause the heavenly tribulation that they could have passed to become their own heavenly tribulation. Therefore, generally speaking, those who entered the 10,000 law school and received favors would think about how to repay the school in the future. Ungrateful people were the easiest to develop inner demons. Of course, the ungrateful person here was the kind of person who knew that he had received favors and knew that he should return the favor, but deliberately acted ungrateful. It was common for such people to develop inner demons. There was also a kind of person who, even if they were ungrateful, would find it difficult to develop inner demons. They were such people in their bones, selfish and self-centered. Even if they were ungrateful, they would feel that there was nothing wrong with it. This kind of person, even if they were despised, would find it difficult to develop inner demons. According to the words of Duan Lingtian in his previous life, this was the difference in three views. The former went against the heart, so it was normal for inner demons to be born. The latter went with the heart, so it was normal for inner demons to not appear. Elder Su Fong. Yang Yuchen glanced at Su Fong and greeted him with a faint smile. Obviously he knew the other party. This, there shouldn't be a need to ask, right? If I hadn't come to invite Duan Lingtian, I wouldn't have appeared here, let alone at this time. Not only did Yang Yuchen not deny it, but he also admitted it. Suddenly, even if Su Fong and the others were mentally prepared, they still couldn't help but be shocked. Vice Palace Master Yang. At this time, the ultimate god expert from the Crimson Light Heavenly Palace also spoke. As far as I know, throughout the history of the Myriad Arts Academy, there has never been a case of you actively inviting someone to join the academy, right? Moreover, isn't the philosophy of the Myriad Arts Academy to be free to come and go without coercion? When he asked the last question, the ultimate god expert hesitated for a moment before speaking. Obviously, he had some reservations about Yang Yuchen. After all, the other party was not only the Vice Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy, but also a medium ultimate god expert. Medium ultimate god. At this time, Duan Lingtian was also observing Yang Yuchen. This was the first medium ultimate god he had seen so far. Of course, he didn't count Ker's third uncle, Xiajie. Xiajie was the first person he had met in the mundane plane. It was only after he came to the Shengang land that he found out that the Xia clan behind Ker and Xiajie was actually a giant ultimate god clan in the world of divine remains. Xiajie, as the third master of the Xia clan, was most likely also a ultimate god expert, but he didn't know if he was a medium ultimate god expert. The philosophy of the Myriad Arts Academy will never change. Facing the question of the Crimson Light Heavenly Palace's Shen clan expert, Yang Yuchen's expression did not change. He still had the same smile on his face. I'm not here on behalf of the Myriad Arts Academy. It's just a personal matter. As soon as Yang Yuchen said this, the expressions of the ultimate god experts froze. After all this time, Yang Yuchen was not here on behalf of the Myriad Arts Academy? However, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, they remembered Yang Yuchen's status in the Myriad Arts Academy and suddenly felt. Was there a big difference between Yang Yuchen coming on behalf of himself and the Myriad Arts Academy? Although Yang Yuchen was only the Vice Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy, everyone in the Shengang land knew that the old Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy had been grooming Yang Yuchen as the next Palace Master. When the old Palace Master abdicated, the first in line to inherit the position was Yang Yuchen. Duan Lingtian. When the group of ultimate god experts faintly felt that the wolf was coming, Yang Yuchen was already looking at Duan Lingtian with a wider smile on his face. I'm Yang Yuchen, the Vice Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy. However, I'm not here on behalf of the Myriad Arts Academy. I'm here on behalf of myself. Personally, I think you're very suitable for the Myriad Arts Academy. The Myriad Arts Academy has a high degree of freedom. Inside, there's no distinction of status. As long as you're outstanding enough, you can get everything you want. Just like the people from the forces behind these people here, there are more or less people in the Myriad Arts Academy. However, although they're from heavyweight ultimate god forces, they're no different from other students in the Myriad Arts Academy. There's no preferential treatment. It's not convenient for me to say more about some things, at least not now. However, as heavyweight ultimate god forces, why do they still let their disciples enter the Myriad Arts Academy? Moreover, they're not ordinary disciples. Among them, there's no lack of prodigies who don't lose to you. Some of them are even more outstanding than your current performance. As soon as Yang Yuchen's words came out, not only was Duan Lingtian stunned, but even the higher-ups of the Chunyang school, except for Yi Qinfeng, were stunned. Yi Qinfeng was not stunned because he had long heard of this rumor, so he was not surprised. As for why he did not recommend Duan Lingtian to the Myriad Arts Academy, it was also because if Duan Lingtian took the initiative to enter the Myriad Arts Academy, he would not be able to get any benefits under the circumstances where no one came to invite him. On the other hand, if he joined other ultimate god forces, he could still reap benefits and enter the Myriad Arts Academy, as long as the force behind him allowed it. Under normal circumstances they would definitely allow it. If they deliberately stopped it, then the original favor would be lost. No force would do such a stupid thing. However, what Yi Qinfeng did not expect was that someone from the Myriad Arts Academy actually came. Moreover, it was the person who was known as the #1 genius of the Myriad Arts Academy in 100,000 years. Yang Yuchen, Vice Palace Master Yang. This person seems to be from a lower plane? Or perhaps a mundane plane? Yi Qinfeng had heard of this rumor a long time ago. This Yang Yuchen might be the same kind of person as him and Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian. At this time, Monorigin cult elder Su Fang looked at Duan Lingtian again and transmitted his voice. You can enter the Myriad Arts Academy if you join the Monorigin cult. The Monorigin cult will not stop you. At the same time, my previous promise will not change. Su Fang's meaning was very simple. After Duan Lingtian joined the Monorigin cult, he could also enter the Myriad Arts Academy as a disciple of the Monorigin cult. The Monorigin cult would not stop him from entering the Myriad Arts Academy. In addition, he would also receive a lot of resources and preferential treatment from the Monorigin cult. Almost at the same time as Su Fang transmitted his voice, Duan Lingtian also received voice transmissions from the other 8 ultimate god factions. Their words were basically the same as Su Fang's. Joining the factions behind them would not affect his entry into the Myriad Arts Academy. For a moment, Duan Lingtian was a little hesitant. What should he choose? He couldn't help but look at Yang Yuchen again. This mid-level ultimate god expert who claimed to be representing himself and not the Myriad Arts Academy had not promised him any benefits so far. Although he felt that Yang Yuchen was reliable, he couldn't just follow him into the Myriad Arts Academy without anything in return, right? If that was the case, it would be better to join one of the other 8 major factions aside from the Monorigin cult and then enter the Myriad Arts Academy. At most, he would have the identity of another faction. As for me, Yang Yuchen met Duan Lingtian's gaze and guessed what Duan Lingtian was thinking. He gently shook his head. I can't give you what they are offering. I won't hide this from you. I represent myself and what I have is limited. I'm very poor. Chapter 4092. I'm very poor. Not only was Duan Lingtian stunned by Yang Yuchen's words, but even the people present on the scene were stunned. However, when the other ultimate god-level forces regained their senses, they were not surprised. This was because Yang Yuchen had previously said that he represented himself and not the Myriad Art Academy. These people represented the forces behind them. The resources that they could mobilize were naturally not something that Yang Yuchen alone could compare to. Since Yang Yuchen had said that he was representing himself, it meant that he could not simply use the Myriad Law Academy's resources. Under such circumstances, the things Yang Yuchen could offer were naturally limited. Duan Lingtian regained his senses and took a deep look at Yang Yuchen before bluntly saying, Vice Palace Master Yang, since you've personally come here, you must have a certain level of confidence that I'll join the Myriad Law Academy. As soon as he spoke, Duan Lingtian directly pointed out the purpose of Yang Yuchen's visit. Since you can't offer better resources, what makes you think I'll join the Myriad Law Academy? If you're so sure that I won't join the Myriad Law Academy, why are you here? Do you have nothing better to do? Because of this, Duan Lingtian felt that Yang Yuchen must have something else to say. As soon as Duan Lingtian spoke, the Monorigin Divine Sect Ultimate God Elder Su Fang and the others who were originally relieved finally regained their senses and their expressions changed slightly. That's right. If Yang Yuchen was not confident, he would not have come. This person was a medium ultimate god. Not only was his strength above them, but his status was also higher than theirs. He was on par with the medium ultimate gods of their respective heavyweight ultimate god forces. He's indeed the #1 person among the younger generation in the 7 prefectures. When Yang Yuchen heard Duan Lingtian's words and saw the deep meaning in Duan Lingtian's eyes, He was stunned at first before taking a deep look at Duan Tian. "You've realized it so quickly?" As soon as he finished speaking, he did not continue to speak. Instead, he transmitted his next words to Duan Tian. When Duan Tian heard the voice transmission, he did not pay much attention to it at first. However, when he was halfway through, his expression turned solemn. In the end, his eyes even shone brightly. At this moment, many people were also observing Duan Tian. When they saw Duan Tian's eyes shining brightly as he stared at Yang Yuqin, they immediately realized something. Duan Tian is communicating with Yang Yuqin, the Vice Palace Master of Myriad Arts Academy. This Yang Yuqin should have promised something, but what did he promise? What can he do by himself? Now, not only were the people from the various ultimate god forces curious, but even the people from the Chunyang school including Yi Qinfeng were also puzzled. It was obvious that what Yang Yuqin had mentioned to Duan Tian through voice transmission was very interesting to Duan Tian. However, since he was here as a representative and couldn't use the resources of the Myriad Arts Academy, what could he personally offer to Duan Tian? Moreover, it was something that Duan Tian was interested in. Others didn't know how Duan Tian was treated in Chunyang school, but as the higher-ups of the Chunyang school, they knew very well, Duan Tian might not be interested in ordinary things. In addition, Duan Tian was not interested in all the benefits that the major ultimate god forces had promised. It was obvious that what Yang Yuqin had promised him was more valuable to him than what the ultimate gods from the major ultimate gods factions had promised him. What did he promise Duan Tian? Now, it was not only the people from the Chunyang school who were curious, but also the people from the major ultimate god forces. Vice Palace Master Yang. At this time, an ultimate god expert from a major ultimate god force looked at Yang Yuqin and asked with a wry smile, "I wonder what you promised Duan Tian? Look at him now, he's obviously more interested in what you promised him." Now, if they still didn't know that Yang Yuqin had come prepared, they would have wasted their eyes. It was too obvious. If I wanted to let you know, would I have told him through voice transmission? When everyone's gazes landed on Yang Yuqin glanced at the person who asked the question indifferently and asked a question in return. His words shut the other party's mouth. Made sense. Yes. If Vice Palace Master Yang was willing to let others know, why would he communicate with Duan Tian halfway through? What do you think? Just when everyone thought that Yang Yuqin's words made sense, Yang Yuqin looked at Duan Tian and asked with a smile, "I'm willing to join the Myriad Arts Academy." Duan Tian also had a smile on his face. The excitement in his eyes had completely disappeared at this moment as if nothing had happened. However, his loss of composure earlier had already betrayed him. Duan Tian, what's going on? What did he promise? Zhen Fan, Zhen Yunfeng, and Yi Qinfeng's questions rang in Duan Tian's ears. Even Lu Fenggu, the old ancestor of the hidden sword progeny who was usually calm, could not suppress his curiosity and asked Duan Tian. The relic of an ultimate god. Duan Tian did not hide the truth in the face of the four people's questions. As his voice fell, he added, "Please keep it a secret. The relic of an ultimate god." Hearing Duan Tian's words, the four people's hearts trembled, but in order to not stand out, their faces did not change at all, allowing the waves to surge in their hearts. However, soon Yi Qinfeng was the first to react and said, "Duan Tian, don't let this relic of an ultimate god get to your head. Not all relic of an ultimate god is a fortuitous encounter. Some relic of an ultimate god is only for sightseeing and is of no help to those who enter. You have to ask clearly, don't be fooled by others." Yi Qinfeng reminded. "Elder Yi, don't worry. I know what to do," Duan Tian said through voice transmission. Hearing Duan Tian's words, Yi Qinfeng's eyes could not help but flash with curiosity. He was curious about what the relic of an ultimate god was that Yang Yuqin had promised Duan Tian. However, although he was curious, he did not ask further. Some things should be stopped at the right time. If he continued to ask, it would be a little abrupt and difficult. A moment later, Lu Fenggu and Zhen Yunfeng also sent voice transmissions to Duan Tian, reminding Duan Tian as if they had discussed it with Duan Tian in advance. Finally, after Jin Pingfan came back to his senses, he also reminded Duan Tian, "I'm willing to enter Wanli Law Palace." Duan Tian's words made the faces of the ultimate god experts from various major forces turn ugly. They did not expect to be intercepted like this. "Duan Tian, what did Vice Palace Master Yang promise you?" Monorigin sect Elder Su Fang was the first to ask through voice transmission. His tone was a little colder and was not as enthusiastic as before. Although the ultimate god experts from other ultimate god level forces also asked him through voice transmission in the next moment, they were much more polite. Although Duan Lingtian did not tell them the truth, he still apologized to them. As for Mon-Origin sect elder Su Fang, he directly ignored him and could not be bothered with him. This made Su Fang's face even more gloomy. Duan Lingtian, a mere mid-level divine emperor, dared to ignore him like this? Damn it. Did he think he could do whatever he wanted and ignore a lower-level ultimate god like him just because he had Yang Yuchen's support? Congratulations, Vice Palace Master Yang. In the next moment, Su Fang congratulated Yang Yuchen before bidding his farewells and leaving. But when he left, he glanced sideways at Duan Lingtian, and the depths of his gaze were filled with coldness. At this moment, Su Fang gave Duan Lingtian the feeling of being stared at by a poisonous snake. He wants to kill me? Looking at Su Fang's back in the distance, Duan Lingtian's eyes also flashed with coldness. With Yang Yuchen's departure and Duan Lingtian's resolute attitude, the remaining ultimate god experts did not say anything even though they felt it was a pity that they could not recruit Duan Lingtian. After congratulating Yang Yuchen and saying goodbye, they also left. In the blink of an eye, only the people from Chunyang School and Vice Palace Master Yang Yuchen from Myriad Arts Academy were left. Vice Palace Master Yang? Before Duan Lingtian could finish his sentence, Yang Yuchen interrupted him. Duan Lingtian, you don't have to call me Vice Palace Master Yang from now on. From today onwards, you can just call me Senior Brother. Yang Yuchen smiled. Senior Brother? At this moment, not only was Duan Lingtian stunned, but the people from Chunyang School were also dumbfounded. Was this really the Vice Palace Master of Myriad Arts Academy? Was he really a mid-level ultimate god expert? A mid-level ultimate god expert directly called Duan Lingtian, a mid-level ultimate god expert who was not even 3,000 years old, his junior brother, after meeting him? Was he planning to accept a disciple on behalf of his master? Duan Lingtian. At this moment, the smile on Yang Yuchen's face disappeared and was replaced by a serious expression. He said bluntly through voice transmission, I came this time not only to invite you to join Myriad Arts Academy, but also to let you join our inner branch, the Myriad Arts Academy's inner branch. Since the inner branch appeared, its purpose has been to protect Myriad Arts Academy. Of course, in Myriad Arts Academy, apart from the higher-ups, very few people know about the inner branch. Now, including you, there are only 5 people in the inner branch. Hearing Yang Yuchen's voice transmission, Duan Lingtian was a little puzzled. Vice Palace Master Yang, you didn't tell me this just now? He was a little puzzled. He had been tricked. Vice Palace Master Yang of Myriad Arts Academy must have done this on purpose. Earlier, he had only told him about the ultimate god's relic that would be of great help to him and that as long as he joined Myriad Arts Academy, he would be allowed to enter. But now, after the people from the other major forces had left, Yang Yuchen suddenly said that not only would he let him enter Myriad Arts Academy, but he also wanted him to join the inner branch. Listening to Yang Yuchen's words, his so-called inner branch was the guardian branch of Myriad Arts Academy. This was not in line with his original intention. This wouldn't restrict his personal freedom, right? He did not want to be restricted. In response to Duan Lingtian's voice transmission, Yang Yuchen smiled and said, I promised you before that only those from the inner branch can enter the ultimate god's relic. Chapter 4093. Only those from the inner palace could enter the ruins of an ultimate expert? Upon hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian was stunned for a moment before he shook his head. Then I won't enter the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace. I think I should consider entering the Crimson Bright Heavenly Palace or the Zhongling Grotto Heaven. Vice Palace Master Yang, please go back. What a joke. Did this Yang Yuchen take him for a fool? In the beginning he didn't mention anything about the inner palace. He only mentioned it later on. If this wasn't a trap, then what was? How could a mid-level ultimate god be so shameless? Duan Lingtian suddenly felt Yang Yuchen had refreshed his understanding of divine venerable powerhouses. Initially, Yang Yuchen promised him benefits that he could not refuse. Later on, Yang Yuchen told him that he would have to pay a price if he wanted to reap the benefits. Maybe even personal freedom. However, when they heard Duan Lingtian's words, everyone in the Chunyang school, including Yi Qinfeng, broke out in cold sweat for him. Duan Lingtian was too arrogant. This was a mid-level ultimate god expert. Were you not afraid of being killed by him with a slap? No, or rather, being crushed to death with a finger? On the other hand, Yang Yuchen's expression remained calm when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He smiled faintly and said, Why? Are you worried that the Myriad Law Palace will restrict your freedom and bind you to the Myriad Law Academy? Duanling Tian did not say anything, but he still nodded. Although Myriad Law Academy stood at the peak of the Shengang land and wasn't the least bit inferior to those godly venerable level forces, it didn't mean that he was willing to stay in Myriad Law Academy and protect it. He had many things to do. Moreover, after doing those things and reuniting with his wife and family, it was unlikely that he would continue to stay in the Myriad Law Academy. You don't have to think like that. Yang Yuchen shook his head gently. The reason I didn't mention it to you before is that it doesn't matter. Now, I presume you're thinking. Once you enter the Myriad Law Academy's inner palace, you'll be bound by the inner palaces and even the Myriad Law Academy's branches, right? At this point, Yang Yuchen glanced at Duanling Tian. When Duanling Tian frowned slightly, Yang Yuchen smiled and said, "If that's what you think, you don't have to. If that was really the case, I would have explained it to you earlier." Although the mission of the 10,000 Law Academy's inner academy is to protect 10,000 Law Academy, it's not an obligation. Let's not talk about the distant past. Just the current generation of 10,000 Law Academy, including the four of us. There are two people who aren't in 10,000 Law Academy and aren't even in the Profound Handle land. When you're still in the Myriad Law Academy, you need to protect the Myriad Law Academy. But if you want to leave, whether it's temporarily or permanently, even if you're still alive, the internal palace won't force you to return to the Myriad Law Academy. It's fine even if you don't come back. Of course, if you leave the inner academy for more than 10,000 years, you'll be completely removed from the inner academy. As long as you're a member of the inner academy, you'll be able to enjoy all kinds of special treatment that belongs to the inner academy. 10,000 Law Academy is in trouble. Even if you're in the 10,000 Law Academy and don't want to help, the inner academy won't do anything to you other than expel you from the inner academy. Even if you return to the 10,000 Law Academy afterward, the 10,000 Law Academy won't reject you and you can continue to be a student of the 10,000 Law Academy. However, you can't enter the inner academy anymore. In addition, the promise I gave you earlier is actually only given to people who have made a certain amount of contributions to the inner academy under normal circumstances. This time, I'll make an exception for you. Because I think you're worth the inner academy paying this price. When he reached the end of his sentence, he looked at Duanling Tian intently. Earlier, when Duanling Tian heard Yang Yuchen's words, he was somewhat surprised. He knew that there was no obligation to enter the 10,000 Law Academy because if one wanted to enter the 10,000 Law Academy, one would have to pay an exorbitant tuition fee if they could not guarantee a top ranking among their peers. Under such circumstances, it was normal for there to be no obligation. However, according to Yang Yuchen's words, members of the inner academy enjoyed superior resources that many ordinary students of the 10,000 Law Academy could not enjoy. Yet, under such circumstances, there was no obligation? This was somewhat shocking. However, Duanling Tian was not in a hurry to say anything to Yang Yuchen. He first sent a voice transmission to Yi Chenfeng to ask for his opinion. Yi Chenfeng quickly responded, "I've never heard of the 10,000 Law Academy's inner academy." However, his words shouldn't be false. However, you still have to think carefully before you enter the inner academy. Although the 10,000 Law Academy's inner academy doesn't sound like there's any obligation, have you thought about it? If you receive a favor from the inner academy and choose to stay out of it when you have the opportunity and ability to help the 10,000 Law Academy, won't you give birth to inner demons? Once you have an inner demon, your next heavenly tribulation might become a death tribulation. The people chosen to enter the 10,000 Law Academy's inner palace must be people who know how to repay kindness. These kinds of people usually won't be able to stay out of the 10,000 Law Academy's crisis at such a critical moment. Hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duanling Tian was shocked. He was confused by the situation. He had forgotten about the inner demons. At the same time, Yang Yuchen's voice transmission continued, "I don't know what's in the relics of the ultimate powerhouse he promised. However, since you're so interested, it must be useful to you. Although you can come and go freely in the 10,000 Law Academy, if you enter the 10,000 Law Academy's inner academy and go to the relics of the ultimate powerhouse, you'll have formed karma with it. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape. Before you encounter an inner demon, it's illusory and illusory, but once you encounter it, you'll often die and your Tao will disappear. I've told you everything I need to say. As for what to do, it's up to you. Even if you don't enter the 10,000 Law Academy, those 9 godly venerable level factions probably won't refuse your entry. As for the Vice Palace Master Yang Yuchen, his reputation is quite good, so he won't do anything to you." Yi Chenfeng transmitted his voice. Yi Qinfeng's words made Duan Lingtian fall into contemplation. He was indeed very interested in the relics of the ultimate powerhouse mentioned by Yang Yuchen and wanted to enter because there was something he wanted there. However, once he was tied to the 10,000 Law Academy's inner academy, some karma was bound to arise. This was different from directly entering the 10,000 Law Academy. In particular, Yang Yuchen had just told him that not even the inner academy's inner academy could enter the relics of the ultimate powerhouse and had to make contributions first. However, in order to rope him into the 10,000 Law Academy, Yang Yuchen gave him this opportunity for free. Or rather, this couldn't be considered free. Godly venerable level experts are indeed thinking far ahead. After Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart, he glanced at Yang Yuchen again and finally said, "Vice Palace Master Yang, I'm willing to enter the 10,000 Law Academy." When Yang Yuchen heard this, the smile on his face suddenly became even brighter. "I said, you can just call me senior brother. When are you going to leave Chunyang School and go to the 10,000 Law Academy? If it's not long, I'll wait for you at Chunyang School. If it's too long, I'll go back first and come to pick you up in advance." Yang Yuchen smiled brightly, and the way he looked at Duan Lingtian also changed, becoming much gentler. "Just give me a few days," Duan Lingtian said. "Then I'll wait for you at Chunyang School." Yang Yuchen nodded and then looked at the patriarch of the Ba Dao lineage, Lu Fenggu. Among the people present, he had only seen Lu Fenggu once, so he had some impression of him. "Elder Lu, the Chunyang School won't be unwelcoming to me, right? If not, I'll go out and wait by myself." Yang Yuchen's words made Lu Fenggu's heart tremble violently. He then smiled bitterly and said, "Vice Palace Master Yang, you must be joking. It's the Chunyang School's blessing that you can stay for a few days. How can we not welcome you? Vice Palace Master Yang, please. I'll arrange a place for you to rest on the Ba Dao Island where the Ba Dao lineage is located," Lu Fenggu said and invited Yang Yuchen to the Ba Dao Island. "Okay." Yang Yuchen nodded and left with Lu Fenggu under the envious gazes of many of the Pure Sun sect's elders. All they could see was the silhouette of their departing backs. When Yang Yuchen's back disappeared in front of everyone's eyes, they looked at Duan Lingtian again, their eyes full of envy. "I'll drink with you in the next 2 days as a farewell." Zhen Pingfan transmitted his voice to Duan Lingtian. Although he hadn't said much, he had been in constant communication with his father, Zhen Yunfeng and Yi Qinfeng. He also knew that Yi Qinfeng and Duan Lingtian had analyzed the pros and cons, so he didn't say much. "Okay." Duan Lingtian grinned. The reason he said he would stay for a few days was mainly to say goodbye to Zhen Pingfan and Yi Qinfeng. As for the others, he didn't know them well, so there was nothing to say. In Chunyang School, Zhen Pingfan and Yi Qinfeng were the only two people he was in contact with and owed a lot to. If there was one more person, it would be Zhen Pingfan's father, Zhen Yunfeng, the great ancestor of Yunfeng. In the next few days, Duan Lingtian and Zhen Pingfan stayed for 2 days, during which Zhen Yunfeng was also present for half of the time. He told Duan Lingtian a lot about his understanding of the heavyweight ultimate god forces and also told him a lot about his experience when he went out in the past so that Duan Lingtian wouldn't be at a disadvantage. After parting with Zhen Pingfan, Duan Lingtian went to Hidden Sword Island where the Hidden Sword sect was located and stayed with Yi Qinfeng for a day. During the day, the two talked about sword principles and a lot of other topics. "Actually, you didn't have to say goodbye to us." Yi Qinfeng smiled and said, "You just need to condense a law clone of other laws and let it stay." He knew that Duan Lingtian had mastered many laws. This was because Chunyang School had investigated Duan Lingtian and knew that Duan Lingtian had entered other law secret rooms of the Tianlong clan and the Linghu family in the past. After all, there are some differences between the original body and the law clone. At least, I think it's more sincere for the original body to say goodbye to you. Duan Lingtian smiled. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. He hadn't been in Chunyang School for long, and he didn't expect to leave again. Chapter 4094. 3 days later. Duan Lingtian left Chunyang School with Yang Yuchen. Zhen Pingfan and Yi Qinfeng walked them all the way to Chunyang School. Lu Fenggu also stood with them. However, unlike them, Lu Fenggu was here to send Yang Yuchen off. As for them, they were here to send Duan Lingtian off. Junior Uncle Yi. When Duan Lingtian and Yang Yuchen boarded the divine artifact spaceship and it gradually disappeared into the distance, Zhen Pingfan retracted his gaze and said with a bitter smile, "Originally, I was thinking, if Duan Lingtian joined any force and you became an upper god emperor in the future, if that force also invited you, you could also join. You guys build a foundation there so that when I join in the future, there would be someone to protect me." But now it seems that my hope is destined to be an extravagant wish. Zhen Pingfan sighed. Why is it an extravagant wish? Yi Qinfeng smiled faintly. Can't I join Myriad Law Academy? When Zhen Pingfan heard this, he was stunned at first, then he smiled bitterly. Junior Uncle Yi, I'm just joking. You must not be like this. Duan Lingtian joined Myriad Law Academy because Yang Yuchen gave him what he wanted. Its value is higher than what other heavyweight forces gave him. At least that's how it is in his eyes. So, when he joined Myriad Law Academy, I never thought of persuading him. But Junior Uncle Yi, you really don't need to. Zhen Pingfan shook his head. In his opinion, it was already unbelievable that Duan Lingtian could be invited by Myriad Law Academy. Even if Yi Qinfeng became an upper god emperor, Myriad Law Academy would not take the initiative to invite him if other godly venerable forces invited him. Unless Yi Qinfeng entered the godly venerable realm, it might be possible. High divine emperors to the Myriad Law Palace were really nothing. What? Do you think Myriad Law Academy will not invite me? Yi Qinfeng smiled faintly. How about we make a bet? Zhen Pingfan continued to shake his head. Unless you, Martial Uncle Yi, step into the godly venerable realm in Chunyang School. Otherwise you're definitely not fated to enter the Myriad Law Palace. As for Martial Uncle Yi, is it possible for you to continue staying in Chunyang School after becoming a High God Emperor? Even if you want to stay, I'm afraid my father and the others won't let you stay, because that will delay you too much. Now that you've entered the Upper God Emperor realm, I don't dare to say anything about the other heavyweight ultimate god level forces, but the other 9 heavyweight ultimate god level forces that came to invite Duan Lingtian should all send people to invite you. Zhen Pingfan continued, you can't really reject them and continue to stay in Chunyang School, right? Even if you enter the God Venerable realm in the future, the Myriad Law Academy will send someone to invite you, and they'll be willing to pay a certain price for it. But is it worth it? That's right. Was it worth it? If Yi Qinfeng entered the Upper God Emperor realm, he would be able to enter most of the heavyweight ultimate god level forces. He, who had great potential, would definitely soar to the sky with a better platform and more resources. If he waited to enter the God Venerable realm in Chunyang School because of the Myriad Law Academy's paid invitation, it would undoubtedly be a very disadvantageous thing to do. During that time, if he entered other heavyweight ultimate god level forces, he might be very close to the Middle God Venerable realm, or he might have already entered the Middle God Venerable realm. After listening to Zhen Pingfan's well-meaning words, Yi Qinfeng smiled. In the end, you just feel that once I enter the Upper God Emperor realm, Myriad Law Academy won't take a fancy to me. Zhen Pingfan didn't say anything, tacitly agreeing. It's still the same as before. How about you and I make a bet? Yi Qinfeng smiled and said, I bet that after I enter the Upper God Emperor realm, someone from Myriad Law Academy will definitely come. Impossible. Zhen Pingfan shook his head. In the history of Myriad Law Academy, there has never been someone like you in the outside world. Even so, they have never taken the initiative to invite them. Those who have been invited by Myriad Law Academy without exception are all existences in the God Venerable realm. Moreover, if an ordinary lower god is too old, Myriad Law Academy won't take a fancy to them. Previously, in order to help Duan Lingtian organize the information of the heavyweight ultimate god level forces in the Shengang land, he had put in a lot of effort, so he knew more than a dozen heavyweight ultimate god level forces, including Myriad Law Academy, like the back of his hand. Just say, do you dare to bet with me? Yi Qinfeng was somewhat helpless and tired. Is there a need? You will lose. Zhen Pingfan frowned slightly. Was this martial uncle of his trying to give him something in a roundabout way? It seemed like it wasn't something ordinary. This thing couldn't be casually accepted. Duan Lingtian naturally didn't know about the conversation between Zhen Pingfan and Yi Qinfeng after he left. Now he was standing in Myriad Law Academy's Vice Palace Master Yang Yuchen's divine artifact spaceship, listening to Yang Yuchen introduce him to Myriad Law Academy. Although Duan Lingtian had read a lot of descriptions and records about the Myriad Arts Academy from the memory jade token that Zhen Pingfan had prepared for him, Duan Lingtian did not expect that Duan Lingtian would not be able to read about the Myriad Arts Academy. However, those descriptions and records were all superficial things. Now, Yang Yuchen was introducing Myriad Law Academy to him, further unveiling the mysterious veil of Myriad Law Academy for him. After learning about the 10,000 Law Academy, Yang Yuchen began to introduce the inner progeny of the 10,000 Law Academy to Duan Lingtian. Just as I told you earlier, there are only 5 people in the inner progeny including you. There are only 3 people in the academy including you and me. There is also a senior brother and a senior sister. They are currently not in the Shengang land. They may or may not return in the future. With Yang Yuchen's further introduction, Duan Lingtian also learned about the origin of the Inner Palace branch. It was actually established by the youngest disciple of Myriad Law Academy's founder. It wasn't a core branch, but its purpose was to protect Myriad Law Academy. In Myriad Law Academy, the core branch was the Palace Master's Legacy branch. If Yang Yuchen wanted to take over the position of Myriad Law Academy's Palace Master one day, he would have to leave the Inner Palace branch and join the Legacy branch. The Inner Palace branch was hidden behind the scenes and had a certain degree of independence. Myriad Law Academy wouldn't care too much about it, and it couldn't obtain anything extra from Myriad Law Academy. As for the relic of the supreme powerhouse that Yang Yuchen had promised him, it belonged to the Inner Palace branch. It was a relic discovered by an ancestor of the Inner Palace branch. That relic was suspected to be the place where the supreme powerhouse passed away. That supreme powerhouse trespassed the law of time and grasped one of the four Taos of heaven and earth, the Tao of control. He had learned all of this from Yang Yuchen's voice transmission. Moreover, Yang Yuchen had also told him that he had grasped the Tao of control after entering the relic. At the same time, he had also comprehended the law of time inside, but his attainment in it was not as good as his own. That relic belonged to the Inner Palace branch and didn't belong to Myriad Law Academy. In the history of Myriad Law Academy, it wasn't that no one had coveted the relic of the supreme powerhouse. However, those who coveted it and acted on it didn't have a good ending in the end. When you enter the branch of the Inner Palace, you can leave when Wanda Law Palace is in danger. However, if you become stronger in the future and it's within your capabilities, I still hope that you can help if someone covets the resources exclusive to the branch of the Inner Palace. Consider it a promise that the branch of the Inner Palace wants from you. Of course, if it's beyond your capabilities, the Inner Palace branch won't force you. At this point, Yang Yuchen's expression suddenly turned solemn. Of course, that's not a problem. Duan Lingtian thought for a moment and finally nodded in agreement. In his opinion, this was what he should do. Moreover, if he really had the chance, he could end this karma. Senior Brother Yang. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had changed the way he addressed Yang Yuchen. The current generation of 5 people in Myriad Law Academy's Inner Palace branch. What's your ranking? Third. Yang Yuchen raised his eyebrows. The 2 people who aren't in Myriad Law Academy and aren't in the Profound Handle land are our eldest senior sister and second senior brother. In the future you can call me third senior brother. Currently, in Myriad Law Academy, apart from you and me, you still have a senior sister who's also my junior sister. You can call her fourth senior sister. Yang Yuchen said. In Myriad Law Academy, our Inner Palace branch has always lived in seclusion. Coupled with the fact that there aren't many people in the first place, we don't have much of a presence. Apart from some higher-ups, very few ordinary Myriad Law Academy students know about our Inner Palace branch. They might know that I'm the Vice Palace Master, but they don't know that I'm from the Inner Palace branch. The reason I'm looking for you this time is to invite you to join the Inner Palace branch. As for entering Myriad Law Academy, it's just in passing. Don't look at me like that. Although I'm the Vice Palace Master of Myriad Law Academy, I'm also the leader of this generation of the Inner Palace branch. In my eyes, the Inner Palace branch is first, followed by Myriad Law Academy. In fact, Yang Yuchen's words were somewhat harsh in the eyes of the entire Myriad Law Academy as a Vice Academy Master. Normally he would not have said such things. However, now that he regarded Duan Lingtian as his junior brother and one of his own, he did not have so many concerns. In Myriad Law Academy you can classify the people inside as 3 types of people. The first type is the ordinary students and teachers. The second type is the people of the Inheritance branch. The third type is the people of the Inner Palace branch. Our Inner Palace branch has the least sense of presence and has no interest in competing with them. However, if you want to compete, you can do so. However, you won't be representing the Inner Palace branch. You'll only be representing yourself as an ordinary student. After listening to Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian finally understood one thing. The Inner Palace branch had a certain degree of independence in Myriad Law Academy. In Myriad Law Academy, the Inner Palace branch would not fight for any resources for him. The only preferential treatment he enjoyed was the resources that belonged to the Inner Palace branch. As for the rest, he would have to fight for it himself. As an ordinary student. Yang Yuchen continued, even for me, I've always relied on myself to fight all the way. Your fourth senior sister is the same. Eldest senior sister and second senior brother are no exception. Chapter 4095. Third Senior Brother. Duan Lingtian changed the way he addressed Duan Lingtian. Has the inner court always had so few people? Yes. Yang Yuchen nodded. That's what I've always said. Throughout the history of the Myriad Arts Academy, the number of inner court disciples was only 8 at most. How does the inner court recruit people? Duan Lingtian asked again. He was curious about this. Just like him. It seemed like Yang Yuchen had allowed him to join the Myriad Arts Academy's inner court on his own. Geniuses. Yang Yuchen's reply to Duan Lingtian was simple. Moreover, they have to be geniuses from a lower realm. Our inner court doesn't accept geniuses from the realms of gods. It's not discrimination, but it's a tradition of the inner court. Even the youngest disciple of the first-generation patriarch of the Inner Palace, the founder of the Myriad Arts Academy, came from a lower secondary plane. Yang Yuchen paused for a moment before he looked at Duan Lingtian and said with a smile, "It's the responsibility of the current leader to strengthen the inner court. Back then, after second senior brother left after eldest senior sister, he threw the burden of being the leader to me. I'm very picky and haven't been able to find a suitable candidate to strengthen the inner court. It was only when I saw the floating image pearl that you displayed your strength at the 7 Prefectures banquet in the 7 Prefectures land that I knew you were the person I've been looking for. You're qualified to join the inner court." Duan Lingtian was shocked by Yang Yuchen's words. He did not expect the inner court of the Myriad Arts Academy would only accept geniuses from lower realms. No wonder there were so few people. It would be strange if there were many people in such a strict selection method. Naturally, at the same time, Duan Lingtian could imagine his 4th senior sister, 2nd senior brother, and eldest senior sister whom he had yet to meet were not ordinary people. All in all, when you arrive at Myriad Jurisprudence Palace, everything will be done according to the Academy's rules. Although you are a member of the Internal Palace, not many people actually know about the Internal Palace, and the Internal Palace doesn't have any special privileges. Of course, as long as you don't take the initiative to stir up trouble, I, your 3rd senior brother, am not someone to be trifled with. At this point, Yang Yuchen's eyes glinted brilliantly. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded and then asked, "3rd senior brother, when can I enter the relics of the Supreme Powerhouse?" He had chosen to enter the Myriad Laws Academy and even agreed to join the Inner Palace for the sake of the Supreme Powerhouse's relic that Yang Yuchen had previously promised. Otherwise, he wouldn't have planned to join the Myriad Laws Academy's Inner Palace. In particular, from what Yang Yuchen had said, the so-called Inner Palace did not have much of a presence in the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace, nor did they have any special privileges. Although he had gathered a few monstrous geniuses, he still had to rely on himself. "Don't worry." Yang Yuchen smiled. "We'll talk about this when we get back to the academy." 3rd senior brother? Suddenly Duan Lingtian thought of something. Why did you, 4th senior sister, 2nd senior brother, and eldest senior sister enter the Myriad Laws Academy's Inner Palace? Did you join willingly? In his opinion, as monstrous geniuses, no one would be willing to join the Inner Palace, which had no special privileges, if there were no practical benefits. Willingly? When Yang Yuchen heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched subconsciously and then he sighed. "Actually, we're the same as you. We were attracted to the Inner Palace by the Supreme Powerhouse's relics. Apart from that, there's nothing attractive about the Inner Palace." Yang Yuchen's words enlightened Duan Lingtian, and he immediately asked, "Did 4th senior sister, 2nd senior brother, and eldest senior sister also comprehend the Tao of control?" "No." Yang Yuchen shook his head. "Eldest senior sister has mastered it, 2nd senior brother has mastered the embryonic form. As for your 4th senior sister, well, she's about to master the embryonic form as well." Hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian was surprised. "So, 3rd senior brother, you're considered one of the more outstanding ones in the Inner Palace?" Yang Yuchen had mastered the Tao of control. This was no secret in the Shengang land, and even the higher-ups of the Chunyang school knew about it. "Otherwise, how could I be the leader of the Inner Palace?" Yang Yuchen was not modest and he smiled faintly. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes flickered a few times. "This is great. Even a newcomer like you who just entered the Inner Palace has mastered the Tao of control. This time you can stimulate that girl a little. Who knows, she might be able to master the embryonic form of the Tao of control under your stimulation." Although Yang Yuchen did not mention who the girl was, it was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to guess that he was talking about his 4th senior sister, whom he had yet to meet. Duan Lingtian rode on Yang Yuchen's divine ship and spent many days before finally arriving at the destination of this trip, the Myriad Laws Academy. The Myriad Laws Academy was much bigger than Duan Lingtian had imagined. Yang Yuchen took him to the sky above the Myriad Laws Academy. Along the way they met several old men who were in charge of patrolling. They were also teachers of the Myriad Laws Academy, and they respectfully saluted Yang Yuchen. Duan Lingtian could see that these people revered Yang Yuchen from the bottom of their hearts. It was not difficult to see that Yang Yuchen still had a lot of prestige in the Myriad Laws Academy. Our inner palace has an independent place for cultivation. It's located in an independent small plain, and the entrance is to the north of this floating island. Yang Yuchen brought Duan Lingtian to a secluded place that was quite a distance away from the rest of the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace. The secluded place was completely empty, and with a casual wave of his hand, a golden command token rose into the sky and emitted a dazzling brilliance that illuminated the surroundings. A moment later, a floating island appeared in front of Duan Lingtian's eyes. This floating island appeared to be completely barren. Waves of deafening beast roars could be vaguely heard from the island. At the same time, Duan Lingtian could also feel the might of the beast roars. This island is also one of the training islands of the Myriad Laws Academy. There are many divine monster kings on it. Divine Fey King was a title given to great Fey who had reached the God King realm. Above Divine Monster Kings were Divine Monster Emperors, and Divine Monster Sovereigns, respectively corresponding to the Divine Emperor Realm, and Divine Sovereign Realm. However, the inner palace has a special demon exorcism token. As long as one has the demon exorcism token, the greater demons inside won't dare to come close. Once they do, the killing formation will be activated and the greater demons will be killed. As soon as Yang Yuchen finished speaking, he raised his hand, and a black and heavy token appeared in front of Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian caught it with his consciousness. Let's go. Yang Yuchen beckoned to Duan Lingtian and used his divine force to lead Duan Lingtian into the floating island. Along the way, Duan Lingtian saw many great monster kings glaring at them with bloodthirsty eyes. However, deep in their gazes was a genuine fear. Are they afraid of the exorcism token? Duan Lingtian wondered. Before he could recover his wits, Duan Lingtian discovered that Yang Yuchen had brought him to the north of the floating island, above a perilous peak. Yang Yuchen made a series of hand seals with both hands and pushed forward. Divine force whistled through the air and the void trembled. Soon, a door appeared in front of them, upon which 4 words flickered. Inner Palace. Come on in. Yang Yuchen beckoned to Duan Lingtian before he took the lead and stepped into the spatial door. Duan Lingtian hurriedly followed. During this entire process, Duan Lingtian didn't hesitate in the slightest because he knew it was impossible for Yang Yuchen to trick him or harm him in such a matter. With Yang Yuchen's strength, if he really wanted to do anything to him, all he needed to do was move his finger. Why would he go through so much trouble? After stepping through the door, Duan Lingtian's vision turned dark and bright. He found himself in a quiet garden. The garden was crisp and clear. Smoke could be seen in the distance. There were many birds flying and some small animals wandering around. It gave off a peaceful feeling. A small stream ran through the entire garden and led to the depths of the garden. One could not see the end of it. A paradise. It was truly a paradise. This was Duan Lingtian's only thought at this moment. At this moment, as he stood here and looked at everything in front of him, he felt as though his heart had completely calmed down. It was as though he had undergone a spiritual baptism. 4th junior sister, come out and receive a guest. Yang Yuchen's words completely shattered Duan Lingtian's calm state of mind. Receive a guest? While Duan Lingtian was still shocked by Yang Yuchen's words, a delicate voice was heard. 3rd senior brother, if you bully me again, I'll complain to eldest senior sister when she comes back. If you really push me too far, I'll leave the Shengang land and find her myself. She'll help me. He heard her voice before he saw her. After a few moments, a beautiful and graceful figure appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes in a timely manner when a voice that was pleasing to the ear with a hint of resentment sounded. A gust of wind blew and the figure appeared. It was obvious that his 4th senior sister had trespassed on the law of wind. Haha, Yang Yuchen laughed dryly. 4th junior sister, I was just joking. I found you a little junior brother. From today onwards, you're no longer the youngest in our inner palace. Someone will call you senior sister. Yang Yuchen changed the topic. As soon as Yang Yuchen finished speaking, the yellow-clad young girl with a graceful figure, delicate appearance, and pure and flawless eyes shifted her lively gaze to Duan Lingtian who was standing next to Yang Yuchen. Immediately after, her pure and quick-witted eyes lit up. Little junior brother? I have a little junior brother? The girl's beautiful face bloomed with a brilliant smile. She was innocent and pure, causing one to feel pity for her. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian's heart was in an upheaval. This was his fourth senior sister? A young girl? Before this, he had thought about his fourth senior sister's appearance more than once. He thought that no matter what, she should be about the same age as him, but he didn't expect that it would be a young girl who looked only 15 or 16 years old. She was about the same age as the mysterious Duan Xiaoyu who called him Big Brother. Chapter 4096. If she only looked like a young girl, it would not be a big deal. However, the problem was that this fourth senior sister, in front of him, did not only look like a young girl, but her character was also like a young girl. She was full of innocence and innocence. Little junior brother, your little junior brother? The young girl walked in front of Duan Ling Tian and circled him a few times. Not bad, not bad. You're more handsome than third senior brother and second senior brother. Little junior brother, why don't you call me senior sister? I'm your fourth senior sister. If you don't listen to me, I'm going to spank you. When the young girl saw Duan Ling Tian looking at her and not reacting for a long time, she could not help but feel annoyed. At the same time, she raised her hand and slapped Duan Ling Tian's back. The speed of the slap was so fast that it caused Duan Ling Tian's expression to change slightly. In the next instant, Duan Ling Tian teleported and disappeared from his original spot. When he reappeared, he was already deep in the field. However, before he could fully appear, he realized that the young girl had already arrived at the place where he teleported and was waiting for him to appear. Without any hesitation, he teleported a second time. What shocked him was, as soon as the second teleportation was launched, the girl left the place where the first teleportation landed before the shadow had time to dissipate. She appeared at the place where the second teleportation landed after the second teleportation. Then, the young girl's palm easily crushed the spatial storm behind him, which he had hastily mobilized to defend himself. With a puss sound, her palm landed on his butt. The slight burning pain was no different from being bitten by a mosquito to Duan Ling Tian. However, Duan Ling Tian was currently staring at the young girl with a dumbstruck expression. This was because he realized that this young girl seemed to be an emperor god. Although there was nothing strange about her being an emperor god since she was ranked second only to Yang Yuchen in the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace. However, the other party was only a young girl who looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Moreover, her personality was only 15 or 16 years old. In this short period of time, the impact she brought to him was not small. Little junior brother, if you don't call me senior sister, I'm going to spank you again. The young girl was a little annoyed and her face was full of anger. As for Duan Ling Tian's shocked expression, she completely ignored it. Senior sister. This time, Duan Ling Tian didn't hesitate at all and said, hello fourth senior sister, hello fourth senior sister. He was really worried that the other party would do the same thing to him again. Although that little bit of pain was nothing to him, being spanked by a girl who looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old made him feel uncomfortable in his heart. At the same time, he could not help but send a voice transmission to Yang Yuchen, who was standing at the side with his arms crossed and watching the show with a faint smile on his face. Third senior brother, fourth senior sister is? He really wanted to ask if this fourth senior sister was acting like herself or pretending to be a young girl. He could imagine that this fourth senior sister of his was definitely not young. After all, she was an existence who came to the Shengang land from a lower realm. It was also because of this that he couldn't help but suspect if this fourth senior sister was pretending to be young. If she wasn't pretending to be young, then there must be a problem with her body. In this world, there were some cultivation methods that if one started to cultivate at a young age, once a problem occurred, it could cause the cultivator's appearance to no longer change. Even their temperament and personality would stop at the moment when the problem occurred. This was also a problem with the body. However, judging from the situation just now, he felt that this fourth senior sister did not seem to be pretending to be young. It was as though she was really following her heart. Little junior brother. Yang Yuchen sent a voice transmission and explained to Duan Ling Tian in a timely manner, your fourth senior sister was originally an orphan who was abandoned in the mountains in the mundane realm. She was born and raised by the heavens. She grew up with a pack of wolves and shared a room with tigers and leopards. It was only after she was 10 years old that she gained sentience due to an accident. That accident was the turning point in her life. That fortuitous encounter allowed her to be reborn. From then on, she left the wild beasts in the mountains and entered the human world. At that time, although she knew she was a human and learned some common knowledge about humans, she was still young. Coupled with the fact that she was inexperienced in the world, she was used by someone and slaughtered an entire city. Later on, a powerhouse wanted to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and kill her. However, although that powerhouse defeated her, he did not kill her when he discovered her true nature. Instead, he adopted her and took her in as his adopted daughter. Due to that fortuitous encounter, she obtained a peerless cultivation method that was engraved in the depths of her mind. Coupled with the rebirth from that fortuitous encounter, with someone to guide her, she improved by leaps and bounds. It did not take long for her to surpass her adoptive father. Originally, everything was developing in a good direction. However, on her 16th birthday, her adoptive father, whom she had been waiting for, did not return. She waited until the next day for news of her adoptive father's death. At that moment, she was greatly traumatized and fell into the devil Tao. Not only did she avenge her adoptive father, but she also annihilated the sect behind the person who killed her adoptive father. She even made a name for herself in the mundane realm where she came from. After she ascended to the Devata realm, her personality became more and more ruthless. She made enemies everywhere she went until she met her eldest senior sister, who was an ordinary person in the Devata realm. It was eldest senior sister who saved her when she was almost killed. After spending some time with her, eldest senior sister learned about her past and began to take pity on her. She was slowly influenced by eldest senior sister. In her eyes, eldest senior sister was the second person in this world who treated her well, apart from her adoptive father. Initially, eldest senior sister did not plan to keep her by her side. She wanted to part ways with her before they returned to the realms of gods. However, what no one expected was that the talent and comprehension she displayed in front of eldest senior sister shocked eldest senior sister. After observing her for a period of time, eldest senior sister brought her back to the profound Handle land, brought her back to the 10,000 Law Palace, brought her back to the inner palace. Her current state is not an act. It's a result of her great change. She's a pitiful person. Apart from that, she's not very old. She's not even 10,000 years old. However, I'm sure she's older than you. For this reason, it's not a loss for you to call her senior sister. When he spoke up to this point, Yang Yuqin disregarded the fluctuation in Duan Ling Tian's heart and continued. Right, if you don't want to suffer, try not to go against her. Try to give in to her. Although she's not even 10,000 years old, she's already a senior god emperor. As soon as Yang Yuqin said this, Duan Lingtian's heart stopped beating. His eyes widened in shock. At this moment, he even forgot to pity his fourth senior sister. All he felt was shock. A senior god emperor who was not even 10,000 years old? It should be known that even in the pure Yang sect, Elder Yi Qin, who claimed that as long as he stepped into the upper divine emperor realm, he would be able to receive an invitation from a heavyweight divine venerable level force, Elder Yi Qin, was already close to 20,000 years old. Yi Qin Feng had not even become a senior god emperor yet. However, his fourth senior sister was not even 10,000 years old, but she was already a senior god emperor? For a moment, Duan Lingtian looked at the young lady in a different light. He no longer treated her as a young lady. What a joke. How could a young lady in your family be a senior god emperor? Fourth senior sister, I'm Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian smiled and greeted the young lady in front of him carefully. He now knew that this person was a complete demon cultivator before she came to the mystic Handle land. She would kill an entire family at the slightest provocation. Of course, he also knew that there was a reason for it. It was not that the young lady was a murderous person. The young lady was already beaming with joy when Duan Lingtian called her fourth senior sister. Now that she heard Duan Lingtian's self-introduction, she also said, Third junior brother, fourth senior sister's name sounds much better than yours. At this point, the young lady paused for a moment. Her bright eyes flashed a few times. Do you want to know my name? Duan Lingtian felt helpless in his heart. He felt like he was coaxing a child, but he did not show it on his face. I'd like to hear the details. At the same time, Duan Lingtian also felt some anticipation in his heart. Sounds better than my name? I don't think I've heard a name better than mine since I came from the mundane realm. Are you for real? You can't be narcissistic, right? My name is Lang Chunwan. The young lady's expression turned solemn as she said seriously. When Duan Lingtian heard this name, he felt as though he was in a whirlwind. How dare she say that her name is better than mine? Isn't she too full of herself? At the same time, Duan Lingtian's third senior brother, Yang Yuchen's voice transmission rang in his ears. Little junior brother, fourth junior sister's surname is Lang, because she feels like she was raised by a pack of wolves. The Chun character is one of the characters in her adoptive father's name. As for the Yuan character, it's one of the characters in eldest senior sister's name. In her eyes, her name is the best in the world. She won't allow anyone to refute it. You must not doubt her opinion. Otherwise, you'll suffer again. Yang Yuqin reminded Duan Lingtian when he reached the end of his sentence. When Duan Lingtian heard this, the first thing he thought of was the slap earlier. His heart tightened immediately. Then he forced a bright smile on his face and gave Lang Chunwan a thumbs up. Fourth senior sister, your name is indeed better than mine. This name should only exist in the heavens. It's rare to find one in the mortal realm. Although Duan Lingtian said this, he felt helpless in his heart. He was really worried that his fourth senior sister would slap him again. Although it did not hurt, it was really embarrassing. Most importantly, he was powerless to resist and could only endure it. This name should only exist in the heavens? It's rare to find one in the mortal realm. When Lang Chunwan heard Duan Lingtian's words, her eyes lit up. Little junior brother, you're really amazing. You can recite a poem. I like you. Chapter 4097. Yang Yuqin stood at the side and looked at Duan Lingtian with a slightly dazed gaze. The smile that was maintained on his face had completely froze at this moment. Why didn't he realize that this guy was such a bootlicker? Didn't they say that geniuses were proud? Even he, a bystander, couldn't bear to listen to this bootlicker. However, when he saw his fourth junior sister beaming with joy, he couldn't help but give Duan Lingtian a thumbs up secretly. His bootlicker was really good. He actually gained the recognition of this young lady so quickly. He remembered that when this young lady first came to the 10,000 Jurisprudence Palace, he spent a few hundred years before she finally acknowledged him as her senior brother. Comparing oneself to others would only make one angry. Little junior brother, how did you get tricked by third senior brother? Lang Chunwan asked Duan Lingtian. Yang Yuqin, who was standing aside, couldn't help but twitch his mouth. What did she mean by tricked? Was he that kind of person? Duan Lingtian couldn't help but laugh. Fourth senior sister, I don't think I was tricked by third senior brother. He promised to let me enter the remains of the ultimate powerhouse. Duan Lingtian knew that Lang Chunwan had entered the remains of the ultimate powerhouse, so he didn't hide anything in front of Lang Chunwan. Remains of the ultimate powerhouse? Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Lang Chunwan was a little surprised. He really allowed you to enter the remains of the ultimate powerhouse? He didn't need you to contribute anything to the inner palace? He said that as long as I enter the 10,000 Jurisprudence Palace and the inner palace, he could make an exception and let me in. Duan Lingtian said with a vigilant look. Could it be that he doesn't have the authority to make an exception and let me in directly? If that's the case, I'm afraid I can't enter the 10,000 Jurisprudence Palace and the inner palace. As he said this, Duan Lingtian looked at Yang Yuqin suspiciously, then his gaze landed on Lang Chunwan again. He has the authority. Lang Chunwan stared at Yang Yuqin as she said, every generation's leader of the inner palace has a chance to make an exception and let someone enter the remains of the ultimate powerhouse. Back then, when I entered the inner palace, he wasn't willing to give that chance to me. He even lied to me and said that it was a test for me and that it would help me grow. At that moment, Lang Chuanyuan's tone was filled with resentment. As for Yang Yuqin, after coughing once, he smiled awkwardly. Fourth junior sister, isn't it because I feel that you're stronger than little junior brother? Furthermore, I left you a chance and found you a junior brother. Isn't that good? Haven't you been urging me to find you a junior brother or junior sister? Yang Yuqin tried his best. Up, Lang Chunwan snorted. Fortunately, you gave the chance to junior brother. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let you off. Even if I can't beat you now, when my strength surpasses yours in the future, I'll hang you on the mountain gate of 10,000 Jurisprudence Academy and spank your butt 100 times in front of everyone. Yang Yuqin's expression froze when he heard this. However, this subtle change was still noticed by Duan Lingtian, which made Duan Lingtian secretly shocked. Did his third senior brother really think that his fourth senior sister had a chance to surpass him in terms of strength? His third senior brother was also a famous genius in the mysterious gangland. He entered the ultimate god realm when he was just over 10,000 years old and entered the medium ultimate god realm when he was 20,000 years old. Looking at the current generation of the mysterious gangland, his achievement could be considered as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Very few people could achieve this at his age. But now he seemed to think that Lang Chunwan had a chance to catch up to him or even surpass him. For a moment, Duan Lingtian gained a deeper understanding of Lang Chunwan. It seemed that this fourth senior sister was not as simple as he currently thought. His current understanding of this fourth senior sister was that she was a high god emperor who was not even 10,000 years old and had just broken through not long ago. As for the rest, he knew nothing. However, since his third senior brother was like this fourth senior sister must have other extraordinary aspects. Fourth junior sister, arrange a place for junior brother to stay. Yang Yuchen only wanted to leave this place immediately so that this little girl would not embarrass him again. Now, I'll take junior brother to the academy to complete the enrollment procedures. Even if Duan Lingtian entered the inner palace as a member of the inner palace, he would still have to complete the enrollment procedures in 10,000 Jurisprudence Academy. The inner palace also belonged to 10,000 Jurisprudence Academy. This was an unchangeable fact. Junior brother, I'll definitely arrange for your cultivation place to be better than third senior brothers. Before Duan Lingtian left with Yang Yuchen, Lang Chunwan said to Duan Lingtian with a grin, completely ignoring Yang Yuchen's angry expression. This little girl's strength had not surpassed his yet, but she dared to act so recklessly. If she really did surpass him in the future, perhaps she could really hang him outside 10,000 Jurisprudence Academy and spank him. It seems that I have to work harder to cultivate. If this little girl really catches up to me, then I won't have the face to see anyone. Yang Yuchen secretly made up his mind. After this time he would bring his junior brother to complete the enrollment procedures and arrange some follow-up matters. He would cultivate in seclusion and strive to consolidate his cultivation as a medium ultimate god as soon as possible. It's too difficult to consolidate the cultivation of a medium ultimate god. It's more than 10 times harder to consolidate the cultivation of a lower ultimate god. Yang Yuchen felt a little helpless. That little girl's cultivation speed is at most on par with mine. However, her fortuitous encounter in the mundane realm seems to have allowed her to naturally not spend time consolidating her cultivation. Even eldest senior sister said that her fortuitous encounter might have something to do with an ultimate god. Moreover, it's not an ordinary ultimate god. It was also because of this that Yang Yuchen felt that his fourth junior sister Lang Chunwan had a chance to catch up with him in the future and even surpass him. This was because Lang Chunwan did not need to consolidate her cultivation at all after each breakthrough. Her cultivation would automatically consolidate and it would be a perfect consolidation. This was the case in the past and it was the same when she stepped into the upper divine emperor realm some time ago. Therefore, he suspected that his fourth junior sister might not need to consolidate her cultivation after she stepped into the ultimate god realm. Her cultivation would automatically consolidate perfectly after her breakthrough. Under such circumstances she could save a lot of time compared to others. It was not impossible for her to surpass him. When Duan Lingtian left the inner palace with Yang Yuchen also imparted the handprint to Duan Lingtian so that it would be convenient for Duan Lingtian to enter and exit the inner palace in the future. At the same time he also gave his soul orb to Duan Lingtian. Send me a message if there's anything. Now I'll take you to complete the enrollment procedures. As the Vice Palace Master of Myriad Law Academy, although Yang Yuchen's authority was not so great that he could cover the sky with one hand, it was not difficult for him to make an exception and recruit a student. Moreover, this student was the recently famous Heaven's Pride of the 7 prefectures, Duan Lingtian. Since the 7 prefectures' grand banquet, Duan Lingtian's reputation had risen to another level. Even many people in Myriad Law Academy had heard of him. Duan Lingtian came to our Myriad Law Academy? Vice Palace Master Yang personally brought him here. Could it be that Vice Palace Master Yang invited him here? Our Myriad Law Academy has never taken the initiative to invite external students, right? I don't know. Maybe Vice Palace Master Yang decided to accept such a student on the spur of the moment? Under the curious gazes of a group of people under Yang Yuchen's lead, Duan Lingtian went through the enrollment procedures of the Myriad Arts Academy. In just a quarter of an hour, the Myriad Law Academy student token was in his hands. When they heard Duan Lingtian address Yang Yuchen as third senior brother, they were shocked. I thought Vice Palace Master Yang was going to accept him as a disciple. Vice Palace Master Yang is accepting a disciple on behalf of his master? He accepted such a junior brother? Although most people in Myriad Law Academy did not know that Yang Yuchen was from the inner palace, they knew that Yang Yuchen had a senior brother, a senior sister, and a junior sister. Those who did not know about the inner palace only thought that they came from the same master and supported each other. That was why there was a ranking of senior brother and junior sister. Those who knew about the inner palace naturally guessed that Yang Yuchen had accepted Duan Lingtian into the Myriad Law Academy when they learned that Yang Yuchen had brought Duan Lingtian back to the Myriad Law Academy and addressed Yang Yuchen as third senior brother. This caused an uproar among the Myriad Law Academy's higher-ups. Some of the higher-ups who looked down on the inner palace expressed their dissatisfaction to the current palace master of Myriad Law Academy. Vice Palace Master Yang took the initiative to recruit students from the outside, breaking the Myriad Law Academy's rules that have been in place for many years. After this, in the eyes of others, I'm afraid the Myriad Law Academy is no longer as sacred as before. That's right. Our Myriad Law Academy has always been a place where people come and go as they please. However, this time, we actually took the initiative to invite an outsider to join us. This is damaging our reputation. However, in the face of these people's attacks, the current Palace Master of Myriad Law Academy only replied indifferently, "The Myriad Law Academy doesn't have a rule of not recruiting students from the outside. It's just that nobody took the initiative to recruit students." As for the Myriad Law Academy's sacred status and reputation, if a new student can affect it, then the Myriad Law Academy might as well close down. As soon as these words came out, no one dared to object. Looks like the rumors are true. The Palace Master might really see Yang Yuchen as his successor. Some people in the inheritance bloodline were worried. We can't allow this to happen. That Yang Yuchen is from the inner palace. Even if he joins our inheritance bloodline for the position of Palace Master, I'm afraid his heart is still with the inner palace. What should we do? This matter can't be delayed any longer. If this continues, the academy will really become the inner palace's. Even if the inner palace had a glorious past in the past, it has declined and shouldn't reappear in front of others. Chapter 4098. Little junior brother, you can stay here or go back to the inner palace, Yi Futian said. After Yang Yuchen brought Duan Lingtian to the Myriad Arts Academy student dormitory, he brought Duan Lingtian to the Myriad Arts Academy student dormitory. The student dormitory was divided into a few areas. Although they were all single dormitories, some of the single dormitories were in the same building. Some of the single dormitories were independent courtyards with each student having a floor. The best single dormitories were independent courtyards for each student. Yang Yuchen arranged for Duan Lingtian to stay in the most ordinary single dormitory because he felt that even if he arranged it for Duan Lingtian might not stay there. Even if he did, he would only stay for a few days. The environment of the inner palace's independent dimension was much better than here. Back then, the ancestor who founded the inner palace had cut off half of a godly venerable faction's divine essence mine and brought it there. Third senior brother. Duan Lingtian glanced at the student dormitory and did not dislike Yang Yuchen's arrangement because he now knew that he could change dormitories at any time as long as he had divine essence in hand. Now he was more concerned about what Yang Yuchen had promised him. When will you let me in the Supreme Expert's relic? So soon? Yang Yuchen smiled and said, since I've promised you, I naturally won't go back on my word. How about this, I'll let you in a year. Before that, I want to check if the spirit energy in the Supreme Expert's relic is stable. Although the Supreme Expert's relic was left behind, the spirit energy inside still needs to be provided by us. Otherwise, the Supreme Expert's relic would have been completely annihilated many years ago due to excessive consumption. Yang Yuchen said. A year? Duan Lingtian heard this, and although he was not very satisfied, he did not say much. A year's time was not considered long. Third senior brother, go do your own thing. After a moment of silence, Duan Lingtian broke the silence and said to Yang Yuchen. Yang Yuchen heard this and nodded. Okay. In short, if anyone bullies you within the academy and outside the rules, feel free to contact me. Of course, Yang Yuchen was just speaking casually. He knew very well that after knowing that Duan Lingtian was his junior brother, very few people would dare to bully Duan Lingtian outside of the rules. After Yang Yuchen left, Duan Lingtian took out the dormitory key he had received when he went through the admission procedures. He glanced at it and saw the number written on it. Block 2, 603. This was also the dormitory assigned to him. Whoosh. Duan Lingtian's figure flashed as he arrived before a dormitory. Shockingly, there was a stone tablet floating in front of this dormitory, and 2 words were inscribed on it in a flamboyant manner. Building 2. Then Duan Lingtian's gaze locked onto a room on the 6th floor. The number on the door was 603. It's a bit like the university dormitories on Earth in my previous life, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. In his previous life he had never gone to university. This was something he had always regretted. In a flash he arrived in front of the door of the room, inserted the key and opened the door. The room was neither spacious nor narrow. A standard bed was placed there. It was clean and spotless. Obviously someone usually cleaned it. "Brother, are you new?" Duan Lingtian was just about to enter the room when a voice suddenly sounded in his ear. A person walked out of room 602 next door. It was a young man with a strong body and a simple and honest face. The young man was close to 2 meters tall, half a head taller than Duan Lingtian. At this time he had a smile on his face. "My name is Tan Fei. I live in room 602 next door. From now on we'll be neighbors." Tan Fei seemed to be a little enthusiastic. Looking at his appearance, there was not the slightest pretentiousness. Obviously he was just speaking from his heart. "Duan Lingtian." Duan Lingtian nodded at Tan Fei. Then without saying anything he stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. The current him was not interested in getting to know anyone. So what if he got to know someone? It was fine if their relationship was shallow. However, if their relationship was deep and he offended someone in the future, he might implicate the other party. Previously, when he was in Chunyang school, after learning about the Mon-origin spirit sex style, he knew that sometimes, making friends was not necessarily a good thing. Who knew when his friends would be implicated by him? Duan Lingtian? When Tan Fei heard Duan Lingtian's name, he could not help but be stunned. Why does this name sound so familiar? However, this guy is truly arrogant. Those who don't know him might think he lives in a dormitory with a courtyard. Those who lived in a dormitory with a courtyard either had a strong background or were quite strong. They did not lack divine crystal, so they would not live in the worst dormitory. Tan Fei shook his head and no longer thought about it. He left the dormitory directly. He came out because he had something to do. Coincidentally, he met his new neighbor. He did not purposely come out to get to know him. Although I, Tan Fei, don't have a strong background and my strength is ordinary, I don't want to be friends with someone as arrogant as you. Tan Fei thought proudly in his heart. Of course, Duan Lingtian was unaware of Tan Fei's arrogance. After entering his room, he activated the formation compass and enveloped the entire room. Then, he sat cross-legged on the bed and thought about his experience in the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace. He was mainly thinking about his fourth senior sister. His fourth senior sister looked like a 15 or 16-year-old girl. She had a harmless personality, but deep down she was a ruthless person. However, based on what he had seen so far, her attitude toward him was not bad. However, I'd better not go to the inner sect for the time being. She seems to be quite interested in me. If she keeps watching me, it won't be so convenient for me to cultivate. As long as he activated the formation, nobody would deliberately disturb his cultivation unless they wanted to become enemies with him. However, he had a feeling that his fourth senior sister was not an ordinary person. She might not care so much about the rules. After Tan Fei left the student dormitory in Block 2, he went all the way to the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace's trading area, the Myriad Jurisprudence Bazaar. He had come out this time to purchase some divine pills to assist in his cultivation. After arriving at the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace, he heard many people talking about a person who was personally invited by Vice Sect leader Yang Yuchen to join the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace. Vice Sect leader Yang personally left the palace to invite someone? In the history of the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace, there's no such precedent, right? Who's that person? Why is he so important? Tan Fei was slightly surprised. At the same time he was slightly envious. A person who was personally invited by Vice Sect leader Yang to the palace and accepted as a disciple on behalf of his master would definitely enjoy special treatment in the palace. A single courtyard dormitory was probably not worthy of that person's status. When he thought about his dormitory, Tan Fei felt a sense of loss. Comparisons were odious. However, he also knew in his heart that the difference in treatment between him and the other party was more because the other party was stronger than him. His talent and comprehension were not something he could compare to. Duan Lingtian. In the beginning, Tan Fei only heard people talking about the student who was specially recruited by Yang Yuchen. He did not hear the other party's name. However, when he heard someone mention the other party's name, he was stunned. Duan Lingtian. Could it be the new guy I saw just now? The guy from room 603? Tan Fei's eyes widened in disbelief. A person who Vice Sect leader Yang specially invited to live in a dormitory? Is this a joke? Experiencing the hardships of the common people? Starting from the bottom? Also, no wonder I thought his name sounded familiar. So, he's the genius from the Chunyang school of the 7 prefectures. The champion of the 7 prefectures banquet. He's a super genius who mastered the sword principle before the age of 3000. His cultivation has also entered the realm of a middle-level divine emperor. In addition, he's good at the law of space. His attainments are also very deep. He's already mastered the second teleportation. The more Tan Fei thought about it, the more shocked he was. Such an amazing person is living next door to me? Could it be God's arrangement? If such a big shot were to casually pluck a strand of hair from his leg, it would probably be enough to save me 30 years of hard work, right? Tan Fei seemed to have completely forgotten that he was still yelling about how he disdained to be friends with the other party. So fragrant. So fragrant. That Duan Ling Tian, did he choose which academy to enter after entering the academy? Tan Fei thought to himself. He shouldn't have chosen yet, right? The Myriad Arts Academy was divided into many academies, each with a different focus. There was the War Academy, the Divine Arts Academy, the Divine Pill Academy, the Divine Weapon Academy, and the Divine Botany Academy. The War Academy's focus was naturally on improving one's strength. The Divine Arts Academy's focus was on the study of cultivation techniques. There were also people who comprehended the Tao and mastered amazing combat strength. All in all, they were all different paths leading to the same goal. The Divine Pill Academy and the Divine Pill Academy, as their names implied, were places that studied the Tao of divine pills and divine weapons. The Divine Botany Academy's focus was on the hybridization of various divine trees and divine plants. For example, a divine plant with 2 rare divine fruits. After hybridization, would a divine fruit with better medicinal effects be born? However, no matter which academy it was, the students inside, except for some who didn't care about life and death, still put cultivation first. The others could only be regarded as hobbies, and they would play around while cultivating. The 1,000-year heavenly tribulation was approaching step by step. No one dared to be negligent. It was fine if he didn't enter the Divine King realm, but once he did, he would have to face the heavenly tribulation that occurred once every 1,000 years. However, he will most likely choose to enter the War Academy. This kind of practical genius, what he cares about the most is his strength. However, there seems to be some rumors saying that his ability to refine divine pills isn't small. He can even refine a peak king-level divine pill. I wonder if this news is true or false. Tan Fei's eyes became brighter and brighter. Duan Ling Tian. That was the student in the dormitory next to him. It was his neighbor. There was a saying that distant relatives weren't as good as close neighbors, and it was referring to people like them. I must build a good relationship with him. I must build a good relationship with him. Such a big shot isn't someone I can come in contact with at any time. As long as he gives me some pointers, it will be enough for me to enjoy for the rest of my life. Chapter 4099. The dormitories within the Myriad Arts Academy were all secluded small courtyards with mountains and rivers inside. Of course, the mountains were fake mountains and the water was just a small pond. However, even though the area was not big, it still gave off a peaceful feeling as if one was in nature. Whoosh. Suddenly, a figure appeared outside one of the dormitories like the wind and said with a smile, "Wang Yunxing, if you're not cultivating, why don't I come in and have a seat?" It was a handsome young man in a flowing green robe. When he smiled, he gave off a warm feeling. As soon as he finished speaking, a voice was heard from the stone house in the small courtyard. "What's the matter?" As soon as the voice was heard, the stone house's door opened. Then, a tall and sturdy young man with a pair of cold eyes slowly walked out of the stone house. When he came out, his gaze fell on the newcomer. Seeing the sturdy young man Wang Yunxing walk out of the door, the elegant young man did not stand on ceremony and entered the small courtyard in a flash. He sat down on a bench next to the small pond in the small courtyard and placed his arms on the back of the bench naturally. He crossed his legs and smiled at the sturdy young man as if he was the owner. The sturdy young man's expression remained indifferent when he saw this. It was as if he was used to the person in front of him acting so casually. "Speak, what's the matter?" The sturdy young man asked with a hint of impatience in his tone. "You know that Duan Ling Tian, a genius disciple of the God Emperor level sect Chunyang School in Tunglung Province, one of the 7 prefectures, has come to Myriad Law Academy, right?" The young man asked with a smile. "Yes." The sturdy young man nodded faintly. "You're here for this?" The young man chuckled. "I heard that your Mon Origin Divine Sect's godly venerable expert personally came and was rejected by him. Since he looks down on your Mon-Origin divine sect as one of the Mon-Origin divine sect's holy sons, can you swallow this insult? The young man's words were provocative. Umph. Wang Yunxing snorted coldly. Shaoan, you came all the way here just to tell me this? If the news I received is correct, Duan Lingtian didn't only reject the Mon-Origin divine sect, but he also rejected the Hanlin divine mansion. The elegant young man came from a heavyweight godly venerable rank faction, the Hanlin divine mansion. Some time ago, the godly venerable rank experts from the Hanlin divine mansion went to the 7 prefectures Chunyang school to invite Duan Lingtian. Whether it was Wang Yunxing or Shaoan, they were both well-known figures among the younger generation of the Mon-Origin spirit sect and the Hanlin divine mansion. The reason they came to the Myriad Law Academy was not only because there were some things they were interested in, but also because they wanted to see the strength of other geniuses of the same generation. Wang Yunxing and Shaoan had fought for a while when they first came to the Myriad Arts Academy. Both in the end Wang and Dun Lingtian was. Over time, although the two of them did not become friends, they were more familiar with each other than ordinary people. Wang Yunxing's personality was cold, so he naturally ignored Shaoan. However, Shaoan did not mind Wang Yunxing's estrangement and came to visit again and again, which made Wang Yunxing feel quite helpless. After all, it would be difficult for him to defeat Shaoan if they were to fight. Of course, the reason why he could recognize Shaoan was because Shaoan was not a mediocre person. Geniuses were all proud. To gain his recognition, one must either know him when he was young or be at least as strong as him. In Wang Yunxing's eyes, Shaoan was undoubtedly the latter. You're quite well informed. Shaoan smiled. How about it? Are you interested in testing out this genius who was personally invited by Vice Palace Master Yang to join the academy? You should know that even you and I don't have such treatment. Moreover, Vice Palace Lord Yang seems to have accepted him as a disciple on behalf of his master and called him little junior brother. There was no lack of instigation in Shaoan's words. If you want to test him, do it yourself. Don't think of using me as a tool. Wang Yunxing said lightly. Boring. Shaoan stood up and shrugged. I'm just casually asking you. If you're not willing to do it, then don't do it. I'm here this time mainly to discuss a deal with you. Shaoan's expression turned solemn when he spoke up to this point. Then he looked around vigilantly before he sent a voice transmission to Wang Yunxing, causing Wang Yunxing to frown slightly. After a moment, Wang Yunxing's brows relaxed, and a hint of brilliance flashed in his eyes. I don't have to do this, right? You can do it yourself. Aren't you tempted by that thing? Wang Yunxing looked at Shaoan suspiciously. Shaoan shook his head. Indeed, I want that thing. However, just like the other fellows, it's not convenient for me to make a move. After all, I'm worried that I'll offend him because of this. It'll be fine if he dies halfway and can't grow. However, if he grows and bears a grudge, I'm afraid I'll be in a bad situation. Although I have the Hanlin Divine Residence behind me, I'm not an existence that can't be abandoned in the Hanlin Divine Residence. You're different, Wang Yunxing. You're a direct descendant of that senior from the Mon-Origin Divine Sect. Shaoan sighed. To put it bluntly, we don't dare to offend him too openly. However, you, Wang Yunxing, don't have this concern. Umph. Wang Yunxing snorted coldly. In my opinion, you're not necessarily afraid of his future, right? Currently, you're more afraid of Vice Palace Master Yang, right? Shaoan smiled awkwardly when he heard this. Although he did not say anything, there was no doubt that he tacitly agreed with Wang Yunxing's statement. This was the truth. Do you know who posted this mission on the dark net? Wang Yunxing asked Shaoan. Without waiting for Shaoan to respond, Wang Yunxing continued, even if you don't know, tell me your guess. I have some idea in my heart, but I'm not too sure. I'm afraid my guess is similar to yours. Shaoan smiled. Then, the two of them looked at each other and spoke at almost the same time. Yang Yuchen. Yang Yuchen, the Vice Palace Master of the Myriad Art Academy. He was also Duan Lingtian's third senior brother. Of course, when they mentioned this name, they did not mean that Yang Yuchen was the one who posted the mission to test Duan Lingtian and suppress Duan Lingtian on the dark net. Instead, they wanted to say that it was related to Yang Yuchen. Otherwise, Duan Lingtian would not have been targeted. It's most likely someone from the branch of Legacy. I just don't know who it is. Moreover, you know that in the Myriad Art Academy, the Darknet missions are issued directly through that divine weapon. Unless an existence above the level of a high-level ultimate god intervenes, it's very difficult to find out who it is. But is that possible? That divine artifact, many people speculate that it belongs to that person. The Dark Net was a secret trading platform within the Myriad Art Academy. It was usually not put out in the open, but many people knew of its existence. The existence of the Dark Net mainly relied on a divine weapon. It was said that it was a high-level divine weapon that had already developed a weapon soul. However, it was not the kind of high-level divine weapon that was offensive or defensive, but a high-level divine weapon that was auxiliary in nature. Within the Myriad Art Academy, as long as one performed a set of hand gestures, one could open the Dark Net mission posting interface. One could issue a mission there and pay the deposit at the same time. If the mission was completed, one would need to pay the remaining balance. In the history of the Myriad Art Academy, there were people who deliberately did not pay the balance, and in the end, no one had a good ending. The Dark Net divine weapon punished those who violated the rules of the Dark Net according to the amount of balance. The heavy punishment was death, while the light punishment was some minor punishment. However, as long as the person was not executed, they still needed to pay the balance after being punished. Moreover, it's not like you don't know. The Dark Net is only open to existences below the level of Ultimate God. Even if it's a mission issued by a big shot from the branch of Legacy, it must be through someone else. Shaoan said. That's true. Wang Yunxing nodded and then his eyes flashed. You don't dare to accept this mission, but I do. It just so happens that I also want to see how strong the person who rejected the Mon-Origin sect is. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Yunxing performed a set of hand gestures in the air. In the next moment, a gray mirror image appeared in the void. There were two faintly discernible words formed on it. If one looked closely, it was not difficult to see that it was the words Dark Net. Mission browse. Wang Yunxing said lightly. In the next moment, the gray mirror image in front of him showed a list of missions arranged from top to bottom. Moreover, it was constantly scrolling and changing. It was not until Wang Yunxing called for it to stop that the mirror image stopped scrolling. The third one. Wang Yunxing stared at the third line of missions in the mirror image. The title of the mission was to test and suppress the genius Duanling Tian from the 7 prefectures. Even if it was just a test, the reward was so generous that Wang Yunxing was tempted. If the suppression was successful, the reward would be even more generous. Even Wang Yunxing's eyes lit up at this moment. At the end of the mission, there was a note that only those below the God Emperor realm could accept it. Usually, only those below the God Emperor realm could see the mission. Those above the God Emperor realm could not see the mission even if they summoned the Dark Net. In fact, this mission was mainly issued to Wang Yunxing, Shaoan, and a group of outstanding young geniuses in the Mystic Gangland. Shaoan had seen this mission before. That was why he came to find Wang Yunxing and asked if he was interested. Because he knew that although Wang Yunxing knew how to summon the Dark Net, he rarely looked at the missions posted on it. He would only take a few glances at it when others reminded him. Accept the mission. Wang Yunxing said and accepted the mission. At the same time, in another part of the Myriad Arts Academy, a mid-level God Emperor who was cultivating suddenly sent out a message. Master, someone has accepted the mission. I just don't know who it is. But we will know soon. At the same time, many people who were paying attention to the mission for the Duanling Tian on the Dark Net found that the mission had been accepted by someone. Who could it be? Chapter 4100. The Dark Net's existence in Myriad Law Academy was not a secret. In fact, anyone who had stayed in Myriad Law Academy for a period of time would know about the existence of the Dark Net. As for the higher-ups of Myriad Law Academy, they were even more aware of the existence of the Dark Net. At the same time, they also knew that the Dark Net had existed since Myriad Law Academy was founded. Many people suspected that the Dark Net's divine artifact was in the hands of the current Academy Master of Myriad Law Academy and had been passed down from generation to generation. However, no one had confirmed this, so it had always been a suspicion. However, the possibility of this was very high. Otherwise, how could the Dark Net have always existed in Myriad Law Academy and not have been attacked? In the history of Myriad Law Academy, it was not that the higher-ups of Myriad Law Academy had never launched an attack on the Dark Net, but in the end, nothing was done. They could not find the source of the Dark Net. After all, even if some people in Myriad Law Academy wanted to investigate, they would not be able to trace it back to the current Academy Master. Of course, they did not dare to. Therefore, under such circumstances, no one had suggested attacking the Dark Net in recent years, because everyone knew what was going on. The Dark Net might have been created by the Academy Master himself. Even if it was not, it was definitely supported by the Academy Master. In the history of Myriad Law Academy, no Academy Master had ever targeted the Dark Net since its existence. It was as if every generation of Academy Masters had tacitly acknowledged the existence of the Dark Net. Duanling Tian. At this moment, anyone who saw that the Dark Net's mission against Duanling Tian had been accepted started to pay attention to Duanling Tian. Those who could directly see the mission against Duanling Tian through the Dark Net were only Myriad Law Academy students below the God Emperor level. Those above the God Emperor level could not see it. However, not long after, existences above the God Emperor level also learned about this mission from others. They also knew that this mission had been accepted by someone else. Someone issued a mission against Duanling Tian on the Dark Net? Before Tan Fei could leave the Myriad Law Bazaar, he heard many people discussing this matter. After frowning slightly, he immediately returned to the dormitory. In the dormitory, Tan Fei made a set of hand seals and the Dark Net appeared. Then he saw the content of the mission against Duanling Tian. Probing and suppressing could obtain different rewards, and one had to make a move in public. Let's remind him. Tan Fei's eyes flickered. He eventually walked out of his dorm and went to dorm 603 next door, which was also Duanling Tian's dorm. Then he knocked on the door. Inside dorm 603, Duanling Tian wasn't cultivating. He was currently using the memory jade slips he had obtained when he had gone through the admission procedures to understand the various aspects of the Myriad Art Academy. With the passage of time, his understanding of the Myriad Arts Academy also deepened. It was only when he heard a knock on the door that he came back to his senses. Is it him? Although Duanling Tian had set up an isolation array, he didn't block out any sound, so the knocking on the door could be heard clearly. Duanling Tian frowned. Although he didn't know why the other party was looking for him, he still went to open the door since he had nothing to do. As soon as he opened his mouth, he asked bluntly, "What's the matter?" He had already met the person in front of him before. He lived in dorm 602 next door, and those who lived there were naturally all students of the Myriad Arts Academy. There were no exceptions. Duanling Tian, is it convenient for you to come in and talk? Or do you want to come to my place? Tan Fei seemed to be a little vigilant. He looked around a few times and asked Duanling Tian, "Come in." Seeing this, Duanling Tian was puzzled. It seemed that Tan Fei really had something to talk to him about. However, he couldn't figure out what Tan Fei wanted. After Tan Fei entered, he casually closed the door and then looked at Duanling Tian and asked, "Duanling Tian, you're new here. Do you know about the existence of the Dark Net?" Dark Net? Duanling Tian was puzzled. This was the first time he had heard of this. Even the information he had learned about the Myriad Arts Academy didn't mention this Dark Net. It seems that you still don't know. Seeing the puzzled look on Duanling Tian's face, Tan Fei smiled bitterly. Or rather, Vice Palace Master Yang didn't have time to tell you about this. The Dark Net is the name of a platform unique to the Myriad Arts Academy. On it you can post and accept missions. When Tan Fei saw that Duanling Tian did not know about the existence of the Dark Net, he took the opportunity to introduce the Dark Net to Duanling Tian. He told Duanling Tian about the origin of the Dark Net and its current prosperity. The Dark Net is suspected to be an auxiliary artifact that has given birth to an artifact soul? It's suspected to be in the hands of the past Myriad Arts Academy masters? Although these were only guesses, when Duanling Tian heard from Tan Fei that the past palace masters of Myriad Jurisprudence Palace had never personally issued any orders against the Dark Net. Moreover, it seemed as though they had tacitly agreed to the existence of the Dark Net. Therefore, Duanling Tian felt that these two guesses were most likely true. Otherwise, how could the attitude of the past Myriad Arts Academy masters toward the Dark Net be explained? Someone issued a mission against me? While Duanling Tian was frowning slightly, Tan Fei also made a set of hand seals in front of Duanling Tian. Immediately, a mirror image appeared in the void. In the mirror image, the words Dark Net appeared, and the surroundings were gray and hazy. Duanling Tian watched Tan Fei's operation and soon saw the person targeting him on the Dark Net. It was a mission that was only available to existences below the Emperor God level. It was to test him and even suppress his limelight. The reward was very generous. At the very least, even Duanling Tian was quite tempted. It's been accepted? Soon, Duanling Tian discovered that this mission against him had been accepted, and no one else could accept it. This mission is only available to existences below the Emperor God level. Because it's clearly stated, existences above the Emperor God level can't see this mission when they open the Dark Net. However, although they can't see this mission, they can learn about it from others. Now that someone has accepted the mission, it won't be long before someone comes looking for you. At this point, Tan Fei's expression was solemn. Duan Ling Tian, your strength has been known since the Seven Prefectures feast. It's no secret. Under such circumstances, if someone still accepted the mission against you, it's enough to show that the other party is not an ordinary person. This mission is only available to existences below the Emperor God level. The only person who has the confidence to accept this mission is one of the most outstanding Emperor God students among the younger generation of Myriad Law Academy. Among them, there's no lack of prodigies from other godly venerable factions. You must not be careless. Tan Fei reminded him. Understood. Duan Ling Tian nodded and smiled at the same time. Thank you for reminding me. However, can you teach me the hand seals to open the dark net? Now, Duan Ling Tian was very curious about this dark net in Myriad Law Academy. At the same time, he felt that it was very novel and magical. It was somewhat similar to the computer websites on Earth in his previous life. However, the computer websites on Earth in his previous life were products of science and technology, while the dark net in Myriad Law Academy was a completely different product. It seemed to be controlled by the auxiliary artifact's soul. And this was not impossible to achieve. That auxiliary artifact must have many formations hidden in it that cover the entire Myriad Law Academy. It's not impossible to activate the dark net and let the people in Myriad Law Academy conduct secret transactions. However, this dark net is somewhat similar to some of the platforms on Earth in my previous life. For example, Taba and Taba are both taking what they need. The person who refined the auxiliary artifact behind the dark net couldn't have also been to Earth, right? That's not right. Earth is just an insignificant civilized planet in one of the mundane realms between heaven and Earth. Let's not talk about other places, just the Yanhuang realm where Earth is located has many civilized planets, and some of them have more advanced technology than Earth. Those places also have similar networks and platforms. It's also possible that the person who refined the auxiliary artifact came from a technologically civilized place in this mundane realm. While Duan Lingtian's mind was filled with thoughts, Tan Fei also taught Duan Ling Tian the hand seals to activate the dark net. Duan Ling Tian also activated the dark net in front of him. This set of hand seals is only useful within the Myriad Law Academy. It has no use outside. Tan Fei reminded him in a timely manner, the dark net is limited to the Myriad Law Academy. Whether it's accepting a mission or completing a mission, it must be carried out in the Myriad Law Academy. For example, if you're asked to kill a divine demon, the mission won't be completed until you bring the divine demon's corpse back to the Myriad Law Academy. If there's no way to prove a mission, it's impossible to complete it. For example, sending a letter to someone. The person receiving the letter is not within the dark net, so the dark net has no way to confirm whether the mission is completed or not. Of course, this kind of mission won't be posted on the dark net. It can be posted directly at the Myriad Law Academy's mission office. Generally, the people who post missions on the dark net intentionally conceal their identities. To put it bluntly, the person who posted the mission doesn't want others to know that it was him who posted the mission. He doesn't want to see the light of day. For example, the person who posted the mission against you didn't want others to know that it was him who posted the mission. Otherwise, he would have offended more than just you. There's also Vice Palace Master Yang. Tan Fei's words gave Duan Ling Tian a deeper understanding of the dark net. At the same time, he felt that the dark net was becoming more and more interesting. I'm curious. Who was the person who accepted the mission against me? Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. Of course, he knew that he would only know who the person was when the other party came knocking on his door. Duan Ling Tian, be careful. I'll take my leave first. Having said what needed to be said, Tan Fei took his leave. Thanks. Although he didn't intend to interact with Tan Fei in the beginning, now that Tan Fei had taken the initiative to inform him of this matter, he still owed Tan Fei a favor. The Apex. Chapter 4101. After Tan Fei left, Duan Ling Tian continued to learn about Myriad Art Academy. While he was distracted, his attention was still on the dark web. Then he opened the dark web again and began to browse the various missions posted on it. The missions were either limited to existences below the Emperor God level or had no cultivation requirement. As for the missions that were limited to existences above the Emperor God level, he didn't see a single one. I reckon that I can't see this kind of mission because my cultivation is not high enough. The one who set up this dark web is either the weapon soul of the auxiliary divine weapon or someone is controlling the dark web by relying on the formation that covers Myriad Art Academy. There are only these two possibilities. When I opened the dark web for the first time, it seemed to have confirmed my cultivation level based on the divine power that appeared when I made the hand seals. However, as the saying goes, there's no smoke without fire. Since the dark web was set up by the weapon soul of the auxiliary divine weapon, it should be close to the truth. Moreover, if it was arranged for someone to manage the dark web, it would be impossible for the information to be hidden so tightly after so many years. If it was the weapon soul, it could be explained. After all, as long as the weapon soul's master doesn't order it, it definitely wouldn't speak nonsense in front of others. Speaking of weapon souls, Duan Lingtian was no stranger. His high-grade divine sword, the Seven Orifices exquisite sword, had a weapon soul. In the past, it was the weapon soul of another divine sword. In the beginning, the other party's attitude was somewhat cold. However, after she became the weapon soul of his divine sword, she was completely loyal to him and obeyed his every word. Even if he wanted her to self-destruct, she probably wouldn't even frown. The weapon soul of a divine weapon existed because of the divine weapon and lived for its master. The master of that divine weapon should be the current sect master of Myriad Art Academy without a doubt. Moreover, after each generation sect master stepped down, this divine weapon should be passed down to the next sect master and passed down from generation to generation. That's why the dark web has been able to last until now. Duan Lingtian looked at the missions posted on the dark web and found that there was even a mission to kill someone. However, no one had accepted it for the time being. Is the person to kill someone inside Myriad Art Academy or someone outside? If it's someone from the Myriad Arts Academy, would the Academy Master of the Myriad Arts Academy tolerate it? The Myriad Arts Academy also had its own rules. Killing each other was strictly prohibited within the Academy. If one wanted to kill someone, they had to sign a life and death contract before killing. No one would care. However, if the other party didn't sign a life and death contract with you and you killed them, then you would be violating the rules of the Myriad Arts Academy, and you would be directly executed. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian could not help but send a message to his third senior brother, Yang Yuchen. Yang Yuchen, as the Vice Palace Master of Myriad Arts Academy, should have a better understanding of this. There's no doubt that the dark net is indeed controlled by the artifact's artifact soul. The inner palace has some ancient books that have been passed down to generations of leaders. Now that I have them, they prove this point. And the dark net divine artifact should be in the hands of the palace master. Yang Yuchen said. Duan Lingtian was puzzled. Even his third senior brother didn't know? I can only say that it's only right. Yang Yuchen sighed and said, there's a 1/3 chance of this happening. Of course, this is also the most likely possibility. 1/3? Duan Lingtian was even more puzzled. Was the possibility so small? Without waiting for him to continue asking, Yang Yuchen continued, there are 2 other possibilities. One of them is that the dark net divine artifact is in the hands of a reclusive powerhouse in the Myriad Arts Academy, a reclusive powerhouse that very few people know about. It's even possible that only the palace master knows about it. This kind of powerhouse would not appear unless the Myriad Arts Academy is in danger of being wiped out. Of course, it's hard to say whether such a powerhouse exists. But what's certain is that in the many years of the Myriad Arts Academy's history, there has been more than one such powerhouse. It's just that they rarely appear. Even if there is, I'm afraid that only the palace master knows about it. At this point, Yang Yuchen paused for a moment before continuing. The second possibility is that the artifact soul of the dark net artifact is an independent existence. It does not recognize the palace master as its master, but the palace master knows of its existence and acquiesces to its actions. No matter which possibility it is, it means that the palace master has tacitly approved of the dark net's existence. Speaking of this, Yang Yuchen paused for a moment before continuing. As for the issue of the dark net's assassination mission you mentioned, actually this is quite sensitive. In the past, when the dark net first appeared in the Myriad Arts Academy, not many people dared to issue assassination missions on it. Until a courageous person issued an assassination mission and actually killed the target. After that, the entire Myriad Arts Academy was shaken. Hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian's pupils shrank slightly. Third senior brother, was the person who was killed also a student of the Myriad Arts Academy? Or was it someone from the outside? If it was someone from the outside, Duan Lingtian would not be surprised and would not find it surprising. However, if it was someone from the outside, how would the dark net determine whether the target was correct? After all, the dark net only covered the Myriad Arts Academy. How would it know someone from the outside? It can't be someone from the outside, Yang Yuchen said. Yang Yuchen said, "The Dark Net only covers the Myriad Arts Academy. You can issue an assassination mission, but you can only kill people from the academy. The Dark Net doesn't know anyone from the outside, so they won't accept such a mission. On the Dark Net, you can issue a mission to kill a student or a teacher. If you want, you can even issue a mission to kill the Palace Master. For example, someone once issued a mission to kill the current Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy. It's just that no one accepted the mission." Hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian was stunned. Someone dares to issue a mission to kill the Palace Master? Is he crazy? Isn't he worried that the artifact soul of the Dark Net's artifact will tell the Palace Master who issued the mission? Yang Yuchen smiled. The person who issued the mission is either crazy or probing. Of course, there's a third possibility. Probing? It must be someone who asked someone to issue such a mission and then hid in the dark to see if something happened to the person who issued it. As for the third possibility, it's the Palace Master himself who issued the mission for fun. When he heard the first two possibilities, Duan Lingtian thought it was normal. However, when he heard Yang Yuchen mention the third possibility, Duan Lingtian was speechless. Was the Palace Master that bored? Do you think the Palace Master wouldn't be that bored? Although Yang Yuchen wasn't in front of Duan Lingtian, he seemed to be able to see through Duan Lingtian's heart through the transmission. Of course, he didn't really see through Duan Lingtian's heart. He was just guessing. The current Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy is different from the previous Palace Masters. Yang Yuchen smiled. Let's not talk about anything else. Just the fact that he wants me to be his successor shows that he's different from the previous sect master. No matter how outstanding the previous Palace Master was, he wouldn't have thought of handing over the entire academy to someone from the inner palace. However, he doesn't seem to have the slightest concern. As the leader of the Legacy Branch, he doesn't care about the feelings of the others in the Legacy Branch. If I hadn't met him, I wouldn't have believed that someone could do this. Yang Yuchen's tone was filled with emotion as he spoke. Clearly, even he felt that some of the actions of the current Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy were inconceivable. In the history of the Myriad Arts Academy, there have been many cases of students and teachers being killed. Apart from the 3 people who were killed inside the academy, the rest died outside. However, only 2 of the 3 people who were killed inside the academy were found. Before the murderers were executed, they admitted that they had accepted the mission from the Dark Net. As for the mastermind behind the scenes, he hasn't been found and should be safe and sound. Because of this, many people have begun to question. Is the Dark Net really in the hands of the Palace Master? If it's really in the hands of the Palace Master, why doesn't he care about the missions that cross the bottom line of the Myriad Arts Academy's rules? Of course, there are also people who think that in order to gain more authority over the Dark Net, even if it's in the hands of the Palace Master wouldn't destroy it like this. As such things continue to happen, the Dark Net's authority in the Academy grows. Everyone knows that the Dark Net can cross the bottom line of the Myriad Arts Academy's rules. Of course, accepting missions that cross the bottom line of the Academy's rules carries a certain degree of danger. Unless it's done flawlessly, only the Dark Net knows about it. Because of this, some people who complete missions outside kill people, and bring back the corpses and other things that can prove the identity of the deceased back to the Academy. These people tend to live well. The Dark Net won't betray anyone. Yang Yuchen's words gave Duan Lingtian a deeper understanding of the Dark Net. At the same time, he had some doubts. Was this really the work of the Palace Master of the Myriad Arts Academy? So, what was the point of doing this? To put more pressure on the students and teachers of the Myriad Arts Academy? To train them? Or was it for other reasons? Duan Lingtian felt that the more he understood, the more he couldn't understand the Dark Net. I wonder, when will the person who accepted the mission to test me and suppress me in public come to challenge me? After ending his communication with Yang Yuchen, Duan Lingtian thought about the mission that targeted him being accepted by someone else. For a moment, his attention couldn't help but be attracted. 5 days later, he finally got the answer he was waiting for. Duan Lingtian, come out. A thunderous voice sounded outside the second dormitory. Not only did it alarm the group of students in the second dormitory, but even the students near the sword were alarmed. It's Wang Yintian. In next to no time, someone recognized the young man's figure that stood in the air outside the dormitory, and he revealed a surprised expression. It's him that accepted the assignment that targeted Duan Lingtian? Chapter 4102. Wang Yunxing. A genius from Myriad Arts Academy who came from the heavyweight godly venerable sect, the Mon-Origin Divine Sect. It was said that he was the direct descendant of the Mon-Origin Divine Sect's higher godly venerable expert. Apart from his shocking identity, Wang Yunxing was also very powerful. He was not even 10,000 years old and was only a higher godly emperor, but he had killed many emperor gods. Of course, he had only killed lower godly emperors. Even so, it was shocking enough. A lower godly emperor was still a godly emperor. There was an insurmountable gap between godly emperors and godly emperors. A godly emperor who could cross this gap and kill a godly emperor was a genius in any realm of the gods. Do you guys think Duan Lingtian will come out? After all, it's okay to refuse a challenge in the academy. A student asked another student who came out of the dormitory next door. I'm not sure. After all, I'm not a genius like him. However, I think that since he's a genius, he should be arrogant and won't submit to anyone, right? Duan Lingtian is quite famous in the 7 prefectures and won the 7 prefectures banquet. His strength is comparable to a lower godly emperor. However, it's only comparable. I heard that Wang Yunxing has killed a lower godly emperor before. Duan Lingtian is only a medium godly emperor after all. If he becomes a higher godly emperor, he might be able to compete with Wang Yunxing. However, it's uncertain now. Wang Yunxing's strength is top-notch even among the Mon-Origin Divine Sect's holy princes. The group of Myriad Arts Academy students present obviously knew a lot about Wang Yunxing. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Soon after Wang Yunxing appeared and asked Duan Lingtian to come out, a few figures flew out from the dormitory and flew over to watch from afar. I didn't lie to you, right? I told you that Wang Yunxing accepted the mission. Shaoan, a prodigy from the Hanlin Divine Residence, smiled and said to the people around him. Birds of a feather flocked together. Those who could stand together with Shaoan and chat casually were naturally not ordinary students of Myriad Laws Academy. They were all famous geniuses of Myriad Laws Academy. Most of them came from various ultimate god forces. The Myriad Law Academy was a very inclusive ultimate god level faction. Apart from the legacy lineage being the core, the student lineage did not reject the infiltration of other ultimate god level factions. Of course, in the Myriad Law Palace, the students were not able to enjoy the resources that were directly distributed. They had to rely on themselves to obtain everything and even compete with others. In fact, it wasn't just the students. It was the same for Duan Lingtian's inner palace. Only the legacy lineage as the core lineage of the Myriad Laws Academy could enjoy special treatment. Yang Yuchen had told Duan Lingtian about this before he entered the Myriad Law Palace. At that time, Duan Lingtian felt that the Myriad Laws Academy's actions were equivalent to raising gu, to let a powerful gu stand out from a bunch of weak gu. In the Myriad Law Palace, the student lineage was like a whetstone for the legacy lineage. The legacy lineage's status in the Myriad Laws Academy was more like an independent sect. It's Shaoan and Tang Yuji. When Shaoan and the others arrived and stood in the distance, many students recognized them. These people were the best of the best among the current generation of Myriad Laws Academy students. In the Myriad Laws Academy, apart from the legacy lineage members, after 10,000 years, one was no longer a student. One could either stay and be a teacher or leave. Since these people were still students, it meant that they were not yet 10,000 years old. Moreover, these people had one thing in common: they were all upper god emperors. They were all well-known existences in the Myriad Laws Academy. In terms of strength, they were not inferior to Wang Yunxing, who was now challenging Duan Lingtian. Creak. Just as many students were wondering if Duan Lingtian would come out, the crisp sound of a door opening came from the second dormitory building. To be precise, it came from the 6th floor of the second dormitory building. Dormitory 603. It was also the dormitory that everyone's attention was on. Just a moment ago, this dormitory's door was still tightly shut, but now it was pushed open by someone. Following that, a purple figure walked out in a timely manner. This was a young man wearing a purple robe. The young man had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He was handsome and had an extraordinary temperament. As soon as he appeared, everything around him seemed to be overshadowed. He walked out with a calm expression, then flew into the air and confronted Wang Yunxing from a distance. His eyes were indifferent as he looked at the other party. Duan Ling, I thought you wouldn't dare to come out. Wang Yunxing smiled coldly when he saw Duan Lingtian come out. Why wouldn't I dare? Duan Lingtian glanced at the other party indifferently. Previously, I heard that someone took on the Dark Net's mission to target me. Now it seems that it's you? That's me. Wang Yunxing replied coldly. I'm Wang Yunxing, a student of Myriad Arts Academy and the Monorigin sect's holy son. I heard that you rejected the Monorigin sect's invitation. Today I'd like to see the strength of the so-called most monstrous genius in the history of the 7 prefectures. As soon as Wang Yunxing spoke, realization dawned on many people. It turned out that Wang Yunxing was targeting Duan Lingtian not only because someone had posted a mission to target him on the dark net, but also because Duan Lingtian had rejected the Monorigin sect's invitation. The Monorigin sect? Although Duan Lingtian knew that there were people from various ultimate god forces in Myriad Arts Academy, he did not expect that the person who took on the Dark Net's mission to target him was also from the Monorigin sect. Moreover, it was the Monorigin sect's holy son. It's my freedom to choose which force to join. Duan Lingtian glanced at Wang Yunxing indifferently, his tone as calm as ever. As for your wish to see my strength, I'm afraid you won't get what you wish for. I'm not interested in fighting with you. It's up to you to think that I'm afraid of you or that I don't want to fight with you. However, I'm afraid you won't be able to complete the Dark Net's mission. Before Wang Yunxing could react, Duan Lingtian turned around and returned to his dormitory. It was not until the sound of the door closing with a bang that everyone regained their senses. Even Wang Yunxing only regained his senses at this moment. Rejected? Duan Lingtian had rejected his challenge? Wang Yunxing's expression changed for a while before he said coldly with a gloomy expression, a genius from the 7 prefectures is nothing more than this. Everyone has overestimated you. In my opinion you, Duan Lingtian, are a good-for-nothing. You don't even dare to fight with me. It seems like you don't live up to your reputation. However, Duan Lingtian did not respond to Wang Yunxing's words. When Wang Yunxing saw this he did not stay for long. He turned around and left with a gloomy expression. It felt as though he had punched cotton. The onlookers thought they would be able to watch a good show. However, they did not expect such an ending. Was it over just like that? Duan Lingtian did not hide from the battle. Instead he showed himself and refused to fight. This was beyond everyone's expectations. You think Duan Lingtian is afraid to fight with Wang Yunxing, or does he really not want to fight with Wang Yunxing? I think the former is more likely. I think so too. Most people thought Duan Lingtian was not a match for Wang Yunxing, so he retreated in order to advance. In fact, his true strength was definitely not as good as Wang Yunxing. However, in the face of these doubts, Duan Lingtian did not show himself to explain. Not long after, the news that Wang Yunxing had accepted a mission from the Dark Net targeting Duan Lingtian and challenged Duan Lingtian but was rejected by Duan Lingtian spread throughout the Myriad Law Academy. This was a small matter. Most of the people in the Myriad Law Academy felt that Duan Lingtian did not accept Wang Yunxing's challenge because he knew he was not as good as Wang Yunxing. He rejected it? In fact, Yang Yuchen had heard from others that someone had posted a mission on the Dark Net targeting Duan Lingtian not long ago. When he heard that Wang Yunxing had accepted the mission and challenged Duan Lingtian, he could not help but feel excited. Would his junior brother be a match for Wang Yunxing? He even thought that even if his little junior brother could only fight Wang Yunxing to a draw, it would still be a good result. However, he did not expect his junior brother to reject Wang Yunxing. Did he really reject the challenge because he felt he was no match for Duan Lingtian? Or was it, as he said, that he disdained to fight Wang Yunxing? Although Yang Yuchen had a certain understanding of Duan Lingtian's strength, he did not dare say that he had completely seen through Duan Lingtian. However, based on Duan Lingtian's performance at the 7 Prefectures banquet, he might not be a match for Wang Yunxing. After all, Wang Yunxing was the Monorigin sect's holy son. When news of him being humiliated by Duan Lingtian in the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace spread, the Monarch Divine sect had also received the news. Wang Yunxing was a proud person, so he naturally would not complain to the Monorigin sect like a child. However, Wang Yunxing was not the only disciple of the Monorigin sect in the Myriad Law Academy. Vice Sect Master, do you really want our people to make a move? Duan Lingtian has a close relationship with Yang Yuchen, the Vice Palace Master of the Myriad Law Academy. Yang Yuchen even acknowledged him as his junior brother. In a secluded valley, a middle-aged man asked worriedly. The old man hovering in the air above the valley said indifferently, "Don't worry about Yang Yuchen. Do you think he'll be able to find out that it was someone from the Monorigin sect who made a move? Moreover, we're already giving Yang Yuchen face by not ordering our people to make a move earlier." This time, Duan Lingtian did not know what was good for him. How dare he make a fool of the Holy Son? He's not the only one who deserves to die. Everyone in the lower planes who has anything to do with him deserves to die. Give the order immediately. Anyone in the lower planes who has anything to do with Duan Ling Tian is to be executed. Isn't Duan Ling Tian from the mundane plane? Destroy that mundane plane. The old man's tone was extremely cold as he spoke. Yes, Vice-Sect Master. The middle-aged man acknowledged the order and retreated, his gaze turning cold in an instant. Chapter 4103. The moment Duan Ling Tian found out that Wang Yunxing was a member of the Monorigin Spirit Sect, he had no intention of fighting him. Once they fought, even if Wang Yunxing could not defeat him, he could still complete the probing task according to the description of the Dark Net mission and get the corresponding mission reward. It was just that the mission reward would be less. Even if Wang Yunxing defeated or tied with him, he could still get the mission reward for probing him. Originally he was still thinking of seeing who accepted the mission to test him. After showing his strength, he could discuss with the other party how to split the mission reward. If he found the other party pleasing to the eye, even if the other party could not defeat him, it was not impossible for him to hide his strength and pretend to be defeated by the other party as long as he could get 2 portions of the mission reward. However, when he found out that the person who accepted the mission was a member of the Monorigin Spirit Sect, his previous thoughts were completely dispelled because he did not have a good impression of the Monorigin Spirit Sect or even its members. At first he only heard about the Monorigin Spirit Sect from others and did not have a good impression of them. Later, when the godly venerable one of the Monorigin Spirit Sect went to Chunyang School to invite him to join the Monorigin Spirit Sect, he indirectly threatened him and made him completely confirm the moral character of the Monorigin Spirit Sect members. As a result, he was even more repulsed by the Monorigin Spirit Sect and its members. Therefore, after learning that the person who accepted the Dark Net mission was a member of the Monorigin Spirit Sect, he directly rejected the other party's challenge. As for what the other party thought, he did not care what others thought. So what if they said he was not as good as the other party? He would not lose a piece of meat. What a pity. It turned out to be a member of the Monorigin Spirit Sect. Otherwise, I might be able to get some benefits this time. But, who would be so bored as to pay such a high price to find someone to test me and even suppress me? As he muttered to himself, Duan Ling Tian could not help but feel a little puzzled. He had just arrived at Myriad Arts Academy and did not know many people, let alone offend others. What kind of person would think so highly of him when he had just arrived? He could not figure it out. Third senior brother. Finally, Duan Ling Tian sent a message to Yang Yuchen. The mission against me on the Dark Net, was it you who posted it? Upon receiving Duan Ling Tian's message, Yang Yuchen was stunned for a moment before replying bluntly, "How is that possible? Why would you say that I was the one who posted it? Your guess is illogical." Upon hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Ling Tian replied, "Didn't you say that even the palace master might post a mission to kill himself on the Dark Net? Isn't it normal for you to post a mission to test me? Moreover, fourth senior sister's attitude towards me is clearly much better than her attitude towards you. Perhaps you're too embarrassed to make a move because fourth senior sister treats me better, so you posted a mission on the dark web to target me?" The more Duan Ling Tian spoke, the more he felt that his guess might be right. Other than Yang Yuchen, he really couldn't think of anyone who would pay such a big price just to test him and suppress his limelight. Even now, he had offended Wang Yunxing of the Monorigin Spirit Sect. Even if he could afford to pay such a high price, it was impossible for him to pay such a high price to deal with him. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was Yang Yuchen. Although Duan Ling Tian was not with Yang Yuchen now, he could still feel waves of annoyance and helplessness from his tone. You think too much. Do I have nothing better to do? Why would I pay such a high price to target you? Just for a small matter. You think too highly of me. As Yang Yuchen spoke, the change in his tone made Duan Ling Tian wonder if he had really guessed wrong. But if it weren't for you, third senior brother, who would target me like this? I'm new here, so I don't know many people. It's impossible for me to offend anyone, right? Duan Ling Tian voiced his thoughts. It was precisely because of this that he doubted Yang Yuchen. Otherwise he couldn't figure out who would think so highly of him. After listening to Duan Ling Tian's guess, Yang Yuchen spoke again, but his tone seemed to be suddenly enlightened. At the same time he said to Duan Ling Tian, "Little junior brother, you seem to have forgotten something. That is, you're not alone in the Myriad Law Palace." Yang Yuchen said. "I'm not alone?" Duan Ling Tian was stunned. "I'm alone? Why aren't you alone anymore?" Duan Lingtian couldn't help but wonder why Yang Yuchen would say that he wasn't alone when he came to the Myriad Law Palace. Could it be that Yang Yuchen knew that he had a high-grade sword with a complete soul? As for the 5 divine elements, he felt that it was impossible for Yang Yuchen to discover it because he usually kept the microcosm in his body tightly shut. Not to mention an ultimate god expert, even an ultimate god expert wouldn't be able to pry into its mysteries. Once the microcosm in his body was tightly shut, it would be completely private. Therefore he suspected that his cheap senior brother might have discovered the mysteries of the 7 orifices exquisite sword in his body. As for Huang, she usually stayed in the small world within his body to avoid being discovered. However, the 7 orifices exquisite sword was a complete soul divine sword after all. He didn't know if anyone would discover it when the soul of the sword wasn't there. Or rather, he didn't know if an ultimate god expert would be able to discover it under such circumstances. However, Duan Lingtian was relieved when he heard Yang Yuchen's next words. It turned out that he didn't discover the secret of the 7 orifices exquisite sword. When I brought you through the admission procedures, everyone knew that I called you junior brother and you called me third senior brother. Under such circumstances, who wouldn't know that I accepted a disciple on behalf of my master? Not many people in the internal palace know about it, but many people in the lineage of heritage know about it too. If it was in the past, no one would be so bored. But didn't I tell you? This generation's palace master is a weirdo. He actually wants me to be the next palace master. He also said that I don't need to leave the internal palace and only need to be in the lineage of heritage. Think about it, how many people in the lineage of heritage are dissatisfied with me? Especially those who thought they had a high chance of becoming the next palace master. How could they not see me as a thorn in their side? At this time I have a junior brother like you. How could they not want to test you? Although you can't threaten them, if you can defeat the younger generation they've nurtured and I'm not weaker than them, how could they not be anxious? In the past, my advantage was my personal strength. In terms of nurturing the younger generation, I'm not as good as them. As the palace master, it's natural that I can't judge based on my strength. Even in terms of strength, I don't have much of an advantage over them. My advantage is that the current palace master wants to promote me. In fact, in their eyes, I'm not a threat at all. Although I'm not weak and have the support of the current palace master, in terms of nurturing the younger generation, they're 10 streets ahead of me. I can imagine that your appearance will make them feel threatened. I'm not weaker than them and you're stronger than their younger generation. Coupled with the palace master's support, how could they not be afraid? Under such circumstances, it's normal for them to pay a price to test you. If they test you and find out that you're a big threat, they might even issue a mission to kill you to prevent future trouble. As Yang Yuchen spoke, although his tone was still calm, Duan Lingtian could still hear the anger that faintly flowed out behind the calmness. Obviously Yang Yuchen was angry. I see. At this time, after listening to Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian also came to a sudden realization. It was fine as long as he knew the reason. Otherwise he really wouldn't know who was targeting him. Junior brother, don't leave the Myriad Arts Academy so easily in the future. Also, try not to live outside in the future and directly return to the inner academy. I'm just afraid that they'll do something desperate and make a move on you at the price of abandoning someone. Of course, that's after you show your value. This is also their original intention to test you. Yang Yuchen's words hit the nail on the head. As his voice fell, he sighed again. Sorry, I didn't think of this earlier. Otherwise, I'd remember to keep a distance from you outside. Hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian did not care. Third senior brother, you don't have to think like this. If they want to kill me, it'll also depend on whether they have the ability or not. Moreover, within the Myriad Arts Academy, presumably, they won't dare to casually let anyone make a move. Even if it's only a god emperor, it can also implicate them. Could it be that they're not worried that the palace master will hold them accountable? At most, I'll pay more attention and try not to leave the academy. After communicating with Yang Yuchen, Duan Lingtian also knew that his situation in the Myriad Arts Academy was not very good, but he was not the slightest bit afraid. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Duan Lingtian was not so easy to kill. For so many years there were many people who wanted to kill him, but in the end wasn't he still alive and well? However, just because he did not care, it did not mean that Yang Yuchen did not care. Although with his words of comfort, Yang Yuchen's emotions gradually calmed down. There was one thing that Yang Yuchen was determined not to give in on. That was to let Duan Lingtian return to the independent dimension where the inner palace was from today onwards. When the time came, he would be able to leave the independent plane where the branch of the inner palace was and return to the school dormitory after going to the immortal remains. Okay. Hearing that this was Yang Yuchen's final bottom line, although Duan Lingtian was somewhat helpless, he did not refuse. The only thing he was worried about was whether his third senior brother would purposely delay the time he entered the ruins of the Supreme Powerhouse, right? After confirming from Yang Yuchen that the time to enter the ruins of the Supreme Powerhouse would not be delayed, he left the academy dormitory with peace of mind and returned to the inner palace under Yang Yuchen's secret protection. Little junior brother, why are you back so late? Did someone bully you? Tell senior sister will stand up for you. Duan Lingtian had just returned to the independent dimension where the inner palace was located. In the idyllic garden where the inner palace was located, the young girl looked at Duan Lingtian with a solemn and serious expression. In the depths of her eyes, there was a hint of coldness flickering. Of course, this coldness was directed at the people who bullied Duan Lingtian. Chapter 4104. Looking at fourth senior sister Lang Chunwon's pure eyes, Duan Lingtian's heart was touched. It was precisely because Lang Chunwon had always maintained the temperament of a young girl that he could see the value of her pure heart. Everything that this fourth senior sister showed in front of him now was from the bottom of her heart and was not pretentious. Fourth senior sister, no one bullied me. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. I just learned more about Wanda Law Palace outside, so I came back a few days later. That's good. Upon hearing that, Lang Chunwon breathed a sigh of relief. Then she smiled at Duan Lingtian and said, Little junior brother, let's go. Let's go see the residence that I've prepared for you. If there's anything you don't like, tell me and I'll change it for you immediately. Lang Chunwon called out to Duan Lingtian, then led Duan Lingtian forward. Soon, she brought Duan Lingtian to a quiet small courtyard in a corner of the field. The small courtyard was not there, but it was very cozy. In addition to the basic stone table and stone stools, there was also a rockery, a small pond, a swing, and so on. It was obvious that Lang Chunwon had put in a lot of effort. How is it? Little junior brother, do you like it? Is there anything I can change for you? Lang Chunwon looked at Duan Lingtian with a gentle look in her eyes. This was her junior brother. She finally had a junior brother. Senior sister said that as the eldest senior sister, she had to dote on her junior brother and junior sister. In the past she was the youngest. Now she also had a junior brother. She should learn from senior sister and dote on her junior brother. I like it. Duan Lingtian smiled and replied, Senior sister, you don't have to change it anymore. It's fine like this. I like it a lot. That's good. Lang Chunwon nodded and then said, Then junior brother, you should rest first. When you're well rested and have time, I'll come and chat with you again. In the past no one talked to me. Eldest senior sister left a long time ago, and so did second senior brother. Third senior brother rarely comes back. Towards the end, Lang Chunwon's mood was clearly not good, and Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh in his heart. This fourth senior sister had such a temperament, he did not know how she had cultivated to the Emperor God realm. Furthermore, it was not an ordinary Emperor God realm. All right, little junior brother, go back to your room and rest. I'm leaving first. If you have nothing to do, you can come and chat with me. I won't disturb you unless I have something to do. Senior sister said that I can't simply disturb people. Some people's cultivation progress will be slowed down because of my interruption, and it is very likely that they will die under the heavenly tribulation earlier. Although Lang Chunwon's temperament was small, she seemed to be very sensible. Listening to her, Duan Lingtian also realized that the eldest senior sister whom he had never met had spent a lot of effort on this fourth senior sister. And it was precisely because of Lang Chunwon's sensibility and thinking about this fourth senior sister's past that Duan Lingtian felt even more sorry for this fourth senior sister of his. I hope fourth senior sister can live a carefree life. After sighing inwardly after Lang Chunwon left, Duan Lingtian also returned to the only wooden house in the courtyard. In the wooden house, other than the bed, there were many furnishings and decorations. There were even many decorations pasted on the walls. On the wall beside the head of the bed, there was even a painting hanging. In the painting there were 3 people. Duan Lingtian was not unfamiliar with the scene where the 3 of them were in. It was the independent plain where the inner palace was located, a farmland that looked like a paradise. As for the 3 people in the painting, Duan Lingtian was also familiar with them. It was him, Yang Yuchen and Lang Chunwon. The three of them were vivid and lifelike, and their expressions were natural. It was the scene when Duan Lingtian was first brought to the paradise of the inner palace by Yang Yuchen. This was painted by fourth senior sister? Duan Lingtian was stunned for a moment, then he came back to his senses. Then, he felt that this painting could only have been painted by fourth senior sister. At this moment, he did not know whether to think that fourth senior sister was boring or to praise that fourth senior sister's painting skills were at a master level. Shaking his head, Duan Lingtian began to calm down. His originally agitated emotions also completely calmed down at this moment. Next, he should be staying here for about a year. At least, in this year or so, he would not be able to leave the independent plane where the inner palace was located. According to his third senior brother, Yang Yuchen, there was no way to enter the independent plane where the inner palace was located without the unique handprint opening method of the inner palace. Not to mention other people in the Myriad Law Academy, even the Myriad Law Academy's palace master could not enter. This was the private land of the inner palace, and non-members of the inner palace were not allowed to enter. The inner palace is really special in the Myriad Law Academy. Just like the external students, they don't receive any special treatment and have to rely on themselves to fight for everything. In the Myriad Law Academy, the people of the inner palace are no different from ordinary students. However, while the inner palace doesn't possess any of the resources of the 10,000 Law Academy, the 10,000 Law Academy won't be able to touch anything that belongs to the inner palace, such as this independent plane and the remains of the supreme expert. Duan Lingtian did not know if the inner palace had anything else. Perhaps there was, but he obviously could not come into contact with it at the moment. However, based on Yang Yuchen's analysis, he knew that when he came to the Myriad Law Academy and the inner palace, he had become a thorn in the side of some people. The Myriad Law Academy seemed to be calm and undisturbed. In fact, there was an undercurrent surging behind the scenes. All of this was related to the current palace master of the Myriad Law Academy wanting Yang Yuchen, the leader of the inner palace, to become the next palace master. This was something that had never happened before in history. Although third senior brother always says that this generation's palace master is a weirdo, that's why he wants him to become the next palace master. How can someone who can become the palace master of the Myriad Law Academy be a wantonly mediocre person? He wants third senior brother to succeed, so third senior brother must have some redeeming qualities. Otherwise, why would he do this? Although Duan Lingtian was new here, he understood some basic principles. However, even if I don't cause trouble, if someone provokes me, I'm not to be trifled with. A cold light suddenly flashed in Duan Lingtian's eyes. Third senior brother wants me to return to the academy dormitory after coming out of the ultimate powerhouse's relic? He wants me to further improve my strength in the ultimate powerhouse's relic so that I can protect myself when I return to the academy dormitory. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath, then sat cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate. My current strength is still too weak. If I can become an upper divine emperor as soon as possible, even if it's an ordinary emperor god, I can kill him like a dog. Moreover, currently the Myriad Law Academy is full of dangers. When Duan Lingtian returned to the inner palace's independent plane to cultivate, the people who were paying attention to Duan Lingtian at the Myriad Law Academy's legacy branch also received news. Duan Lingtian is hiding. Yang Yuchen brought him back to the inner palace. Did he notice something? Do you really think Yang Yuchen is so stupid that he can't detect something like this? Duan Lingtian is new here, who would target him other than us? We wanted to test him, but he didn't even respond. Now that Wang Yunxing seems to have given up on the mission? Cancel the mission. It's meaningless. Moreover, we've alerted the enemy. I'm afraid the palace master already knows about this. Let's keep quiet for a while. At least, before Duan Lingtian shows enough of a threat, we should keep quiet for a while. We should have confidence in the disciples we've taught. Many people in the lineage of inheritance started to communicate with each other via voice transmission. After communicating for a while, the lineage of inheritance returned to deathly silence once more. In the Myriad Law Academy, many people were lamenting Duan Lingtian's undeserved reputation. However, there were also people who felt that Duan Lingtian's reputation was not undeserved. Perhaps, as he had said, he did not deign to fight with Wang Yunxing. If Duan Lingtian's reputation was undeserved, would Vice Palace Master Yang have accepted him as a disciple on behalf of his master? Of course, as time passed, the topic of conversation in the Myriad Law Academy gradually shifted to something else. Duan Lingtian stayed in the inner palace's independent plane and no longer appeared in the sights of others in the Myriad Law Academy. Most people gradually forgot about him. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Duan Lingtian, who was quietly cultivating in the inner palace's independent plane, suddenly opened his eyes. Flames of anger rose in his eyes, and the divine power he released became somewhat restless. If he had not withdrawn his divine power in time, the wooden house he was in might have been reduced to dust. Little junior brother. When Duan Lingtian withdrew his divine power, a hurried and pleasant voice came from outside. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and regained his senses. He forced a smile on his face and said to the person outside. "Then you?" The person who had come was his fourth senior sister, Lang Chunwan. "Senior sister, I only displayed my divine power because I had a sudden epiphany during cultivation. I'm going to continue cultivating." After Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he closed his eyes and continued cultivating. Lang Chunwan, who was outside, heard Duan Lingtian's reply and felt relieved. She left. Solitary Destructive Heaven, Heavenly Emperor Palace. The Heavenly Emperor Palace, which had been rebuilt not long ago, was once again in ruins. A tall figure stood in the void. He was dressed in a long black robe, and his face was concealed by a force. Unless one could see through this force, it would be difficult to see his true appearance. Bang! The black-robed man casually struck out and pierced through the void. In the next instant, Feng Qingyang's law avatar was shattered and turned into nothingness. An upper celestial emperor. Duan Lingtian stared at the mysterious black-robed man with an unsightly expression on his face as he said coldly, "Even if you're hiding your identity, I can still guess you're from the Mon-Origin spirit sect." At this moment, Duan Lingtian was the only one left alive in the huge Heavenly Emperor Palace of the Solitary Destructive Heaven. To be more precise, Duan Lingtian's Law of Time avatar was the only one left alive. Chapter 4105. The Mon-Origin Divine Sect? The black-robed man scoffed disdainfully when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. "I'm sorry, I've never heard of it. It's been a long time since I've returned to the lower realms. I didn't expect my descendant would die at the hands of you, Duan Lingtian. Not only will I kill you, but I'll also kill everyone who's related to you. Oh, there's one more thing I have to tell you. My brother who left the Devata realms with me and went to the realms of gods was also killed by you. Just like me, his descendants were killed by you as well. Now that he's gone to your hometown, the Saint Province realm. Based on the time, your hometown should have disappeared from this world by now." The black-robed man sneered when he reached the end of his sentence. Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. "You're going to destroy a mundane realm? Do you know how many living beings there are in that realm?" Duan Lingtian did not expect the people from the Mon-Origin Divine Sect would be so crazy as to destroy a mundane realm just to take revenge on him. There were more than tens of thousands of living beings in a mundane realm. "That's not something we need to worry about." The black-robed man smiled indifferently. "You're the one who caused the disappearance of the Saint Province realm. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for killing so many people in the past." When the black-robed man finished speaking, he ignored Duan Lingtian's expression that was turning uglier and uglier as he continued to say, "Unfortunately, the people who are directly related to you, Duan Lingtian, or their direct descendants, have all disappeared. It seems like Duan Lingtian has offended too many people that they have no choice but to hide. I only hope they continue to hide. In the future, my brother and I will return to the lower realms from time to time. If those people show up, we don't mind sending them on their way." The black-robed man continued to say, "Although those people have gone into hiding, we've annihilated their clans and sects. Annihilate the entire clan. Although their direct descendants have been taken away by them, there must still be some friends in their clans and sects who are on good terms with them, right? Do they feel guilty that their friends died because of them?" The black-robed man chuckled. "And all of this was caused by you, Duan Lingtian. Their death should be blamed on you, Duan Lingtian." Duan Lingtian's face turned uglier with every sentence uttered by the black-robed man. He had never imagined that the people of the Mon-Origin spirit sect would be so crazy. The people who were related to him had left. The people who were related to him had also left. However, these people did not let go of those who had no interaction with Duan Lingtian. "The slaughter won't end, unless you, Duan Lingtian, commit suicide on the spot in front of everyone in Myriad Law Palace," the black-robed man continued to say. Upon hearing the black-robed man's words, Duan Lingtian was so angry that he laughed. "You know I'm in the Myriad Law Palace. How dare you say you're not a member of the Mon-Origin spirit sect? The moment Duan Ling Tian's words left his mouth, the energy in front of the black-robed human face trembled a few times. Then he raised his hand again and attacked. It tore through the sky and charged towards Duan Ling Tian. Faced with the black-robed man's attack, Duan Ling Tian's clone, who had comprehended the law of time, said coldly, "From today onward, I, Duan Ling Tian, will fight to the death with the Mon-Origin spirit sect." Bang! In just a blink of an eye, Duan Ling Tian's clone, who had comprehended the law of time, was defeated. In the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, apart from the black-robed man, there was no other living being in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Duan Ling Tian's clones and Feng Qingyang's clones did not leave the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. However, most of the people in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, such as Meng Luo and Huolao, had left long ago. Young master, did the people from the Mon-Origin spirit sect make their move? Meng Luo asked with a grim expression on his face when he saw Duan Ling Tian's clone rising into the air. His eyes were filled with rage as he looked at the sky. Meng Luo, the heavenly savage celestial emperor, used to be the strongest general under Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Normally he would kill anyone who stood in his way. Yes. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath. His current law clone was the one who had used the space-piercing divine shuttle to return to the lower secondary realm. It was not the law clone that had accompanied his family. He had returned to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven to settle down those who were related to him in the Devata realms. For example, his senior brothers and senior sisters from the heavenly lake palace in the boundless heaven, and his teacher from the heavenly lake palace had all been brought here by him. He had even brought their direct descendants along. Apart from that, Su Li Huangjialong, and the others who were related to them were also brought to the solitary destructive heaven. It was all to avoid the Mon-Origin spirit sect's retaliation. After all, the Mon-Origin spirit sect had a bad reputation. In the eyes of ordinary people, there was no conflict between Duan Ling Tian and the Mon-Origin spirit sect. Did they have to join the solitary destructive heaven just because they invited them? Was the solitary destructive heaven not too unreasonable? Young master, the most they can do is destroy your and Lord Heavenly Emperor's clones. There's no need for you to be angry. Meng Luo comforted him. Senior Meng Luo. Duan Ling Tian shook his head. Not only did they destroy my and my master's clones, but they also killed everyone they could kill. Although my friends and family managed to escape, their clans and sects were all killed. Also, the Saint Realm, the mundane realm where my master and I came from, was completely destroyed. How could a god emperor be so powerful? Although Duan Ling Tian's expression remained calm when he finished speaking, Meng Luo could clearly feel the air around him turning colder. He could not help but shudder. All of them came from the Devata realms and went to the mystic gangland to join the Mon-Origin spirit sect? Meng Luo asked grimly. If they weren't god emperors, they wouldn't have been able to unleash their full strength in the lower realms. Duan Ling Tian replied. Don't these people have any descendants in the lower realms? They're so ruthless. Meng Luo said angrily. In fact, Duan Ling Tian had thought about what Meng Luo had just said. However, since the other party had already made a move, there was no point in thinking about it anymore. It was obvious the other party wanted to kill them all. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath. It was time for him to tell them about what had happened. Perhaps they had already learned about what had happened through the shattered soul pearls. After all, they had the soul pearls of some of their friends in their clans and sections. Since those people had died, it was only natural that their soul pearls had shattered as well. Following that, Duan Ling Tian began to visit them one by one. He went to look for him, explained the whole story, and then apologized. After all, he was the one to blame for this matter. If it were not for him, the people from the Mon-Origin spirit sect would not have come. This has nothing to do with you, so there's no need for you to take it to heart. I can only say that the Mon-Origin spirit sect, a godly venerable god force in the realms of gods, has gone too far. Huang Jialong said through gritted teeth. The others nodded in agreement as well. Based on what you've said, the Mon-Origin spirit sect isn't the only force that you've rejected. If that's the case, why didn't the other forces make a fuss about it? That's right. It's all the Mon-Origin spirit sect's fault. They're a cult. Junior brother Duan Lingtun, once you're stronger, you must annihilate the cult and avenge the Heavenly Pool Palace. While Duan Ling Tian was apologizing, the people who were brought here by Duan Ling Tian were furious. However, their anger was not directed at Duanling Tian, but at the Monorigin spirit sect. Duanling Tian, on the other hand, had a solemn expression on his face as he said solemnly, I, Duanling Tian, promise you that once I'm strong enough, I'll definitely flatten the Monorigin spirit sect. When the time comes, I will use the floating image pearl to record the scene and comfort the souls of those who died innocently. Although the others did not blame Duanling Tian, they did not blame him. Not only that, but they did not blame him in their hearts as well. However, Duanling Tian still blamed himself. Late at night, Duanling Tian hovered in the air above a perilous mountain peak as he looked into the distance with an indifferent expression on his face. You don't have to blame yourself. Nobody is blaming you. A beautiful figure suddenly appeared behind Duanling Tian and said softly. Before Duanling Tian could reply, she frowned slightly and looked behind her. Yuluo, why are you here? Hurry up and return. Otherwise, I'll ask Master to send you into closed-door cultivation for 3 years. As soon as the woman finished speaking, a young woman with delicate features walked out from the forest. She stuck out her tongue playfully and said, Senior sister, I won't disturb you and brother-in-law any longer. As soon as she finished speaking, she disappeared from sight. I'm sorry. Duanling Tian turned around and looked at the woman who had a cold temperament but was looking at him with a gentle gaze. He said apologetically, If I hadn't gone to find you back then, very few people would have known about us. The Monorigin sect wouldn't have attacked your sect. It has nothing to do with you. The woman with a cold temperament was none other than Murong Bing. She shook her head in the face of Duanling Tian's apology. You've done well enough. My master and the others of my bloodline managed to escape in time. Speaking of which, I should be thanking you. Thank you for saving them. Murong Bing said softly. She could imagine that if the person in front of her, whom she missed day and night, hadn't made proper arrangements, no one in her sect would have survived. Thank you for thinking of me at this time. I'm sorry. Is that all you know how to say sorry? I'm sorry. Late at night, under the moonlight, the figures of a man and a woman stood on a mountain peak as if they were a still picture. Chapter 4106. Land of Shengang. Myriad Arts Academy. After Lang Chunwan left, Duanling Tian closed his eyes and rested for a while. Eventually he opened his eyes and 2 sharp rays of light shot out from his eyes. Monorigin Divine Sect. Although the person who attacked him said that he had killed his descendant and was seeking revenge, Duanling Tian did not believe him at all. How could there be such a coincidence? Moreover, what kind of hatred could make the other party destroy a mundane realm? A mundane realm. That's a mundane realm. How could it be destroyed just like that? Duanling Tian's clone had gone to take a look. His hometown in this life, the sanctuary realm, really did not exist anymore. It was as if it had never existed. He could not find his way back. There was no way back. This matter is not over. In the next instant, Duanling Tian took a deep breath and left the independent realm of the inner palace without alerting Lang Chunwan. Even though only half a year had passed since then. Although it was not yet the appointed date with third senior brother Yang Yuchen. Nevertheless, he still came out. He had no choice but to come out. He could not hold back his anger any longer. Third senior brother. After coming out, Duanling Tian did not go anywhere. He only sent a message to his third senior brother Yang Yuchen. He could not send messages through the realm, so he had to come out. Little junior brother? Yang Yuchen was a little surprised that Duanling Tian suddenly sent him a message. He then asked with a smile, What's wrong? It's only been half a year and you can't hold it in anymore? I'll let you enter the relic of the ultimate powerhouse in 5 months at most. Now, Yang Yuchen thought that his junior brother had left the independent plane of the inner palace to look for him because he couldn't hold back his temper and was in a hurry. Third senior brother, I have something to ask of you. Duanling Tian said to Yang Yuchen. What is it? Yang Yuchen was puzzled. Duanling Tian, on the other hand, didn't try to hide anything. He simply explained what had happened. I would like to ask third senior brother's nomological clone to kill that Monorigin spirit sect Celestial the Arch Powerhouse. Since Yang Yuchen was not a native of the realms of gods, he was able to display his full strength even if he went to the lower realms. Yang Yuchen, on the other hand, was an ultimate god expert and a medium-level ultimate god. Even if it was just a law avatar, he could easily kill the Monorigin god sect's emperor gods in the lower planes. Are you sure they are from the Monorigin cult? After hearing Duanling Tian's words, Yang Yuchen asked in a deep voice. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could hear the slight change in his third senior brother's tone. Before this, he had always heard his third senior brother speak in a gentle and refined manner, and it had never changed in the slightest. Apart from them it can't be anyone else, Duan Lingtian said confidently. Moreover, even if third senior brother made a move, it wouldn't be easy to find out if they are from the Mon-origin divine sect. Due to the difference in cultivation bases, I couldn't see through the person who attacked. However, I'm guessing the person is only a law avatar and not his true self. Duan Lingtian felt slightly aggrieved when he said this. He was too weak. He could not even tell if the person was his true self or a law avatar. Moreover, under such circumstances, both his and his master's law avatars were easily destroyed by the person who attacked them. I'm sure I'll be able to find some clues if I make a trip there. If I can find some clues and find out who is from the Mon-origin divine sect, I'll ask them to give you an explanation for this matter. Yang Yuchen's voice turned colder when he said this. Little junior brother, I can understand how you feel. However, what you need to do now is to improve your strength. 5 months from now, I'll send you to the ruins of the supreme powerhouses. With your innate talent, you should be able to gain something by then. As for the Mon-origin divine sect, there's nothing you can do if you're not strong enough. Yang Yuchen reminded Duan Lingtian. I understand. Duan Lingtian replied. Then he said, Senior brother, my law avatar will wait for you 10,000 miles south of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Now I'll return to the inner court. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he did not wait for Yang Yuchen's reply before he made another hand seal and opened the door to the independent realm of the inner palace. After Duan Lingtian returned to the 10,000 Arts Academy, another Yang Yuchen appeared in a quiet room in the Myriad Arts Academy. It was none other than Yang Yuchen's law avatar. If the culprit is really from the Mon-origin divine sect, the culprit must die. Yang Yuchen muttered under his breath. Then he casually brought out a divine space-piercing shuttle and pierced through space before his law avatar entered the shuttle. South of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. 10,000 miles away. In a lofty mountain range. Duan Lingtian's law avatar hovered in the air. Soon after, Yang Yuchen's law avatar arrived. Little junior brother, what's your next step? Yang Yuchen asked Duan Lingtian after he appeared. Rebuild the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Duan Lingtian replied. Before Yang Yuchen arrived, he had already contacted Hua Lao, Meng Luo, and the others. With Yang Yuchen around, there was no need to worry about their safety. All right. Yang Yuchen nodded. Naturally, he knew his little junior brother was only trying to bait him. Following that, Duan Lingtian summoned Hua Lao, Meng Luo, and the other elders of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven to rebuild the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. At the same time, Yang Yuchen was secretly guarding the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. In just 2 months, the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven was rebuilt to its former glory under the leadership of Hua Lao and Meng Luo. However, during these 2 months, no one came looking for trouble. It was as though the culprit had disappeared without a trace. They're not stupid. In a spacious courtyard in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, Duan Lingtian and Yang Yuchen sat opposite each other. Yang Yuchen shook his head and said, even if they receive the news, I'm afraid they won't dare to come. Duan Lingtian was slightly depressed. If I had known earlier, I would have asked your law avatar to come and guard the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, third senior brother. There's no such thing as if you had known earlier. Yang Yuchen shook his head. Moreover, you didn't say anything in the past. You probably didn't want to owe me a favor, so you didn't ask for my help. Later on, he opened his mouth because he had suffered a great loss. Filled with anger, he came to me for help. Yang Yuchen's words exposed the change in Duan Lingtian's mentality. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian fell silent. After all, that was indeed what he thought. It's fine. Yang Yuchen smiled and said, it's just a law avatar anyway. I'll leave this law avatar here for a while and see if they still dare to come. Since they're here, they'll stay. However, I don't think they'll come. At the very least, they won't come in the near future. Upon hearing Yang Yuchen's words, Duan Lingtian was slightly depressed. However, he knew the culprit would not take the bait so easily. At this moment, any normal person would be able to tell it was a trap. Next, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, they'll either not make a move. If they make a move, it'll probably just be a test. They might deliberately ask those who have nothing to do with the Monorigin sect to make a move. When Yang Yuchen heard this, he glanced at Duanling Tian with admiration. He did not expect this little junior brother of his would be able to maintain his composure and make such an analysis under such circumstances. I even suspect that the person who made a move earlier might not be from the Monorigin sect. Yang Yuchen said, however, the possibility of this is not high. After all, you said it yourself. The person who made the move was a higher god emperor. You'll have to pay a high price if you want to invite a higher god emperor to make a move on your foundation in the lower dimensions. After all, who isn't afraid of death? Moreover, you're not alone now. You're a student of the Myriad Jurisprudence Palace and my junior brother. The junior brother of a medium god. Who would want to provoke him without sufficient benefits? Moreover, it would be a death feud. The land of Shengang. In the Monorigin sect. Lord Vice Sect Master, Duanling Tian and his men have returned to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven to rebuild it. After that, they continued to stay in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven with great fanfare. I suspect this is a trap, so I didn't ask them to make a move and allowed them to return first. In the spacious hall, the person in the lower seat said respectfully to the old man sitting in the front seat. All right. The old man nodded. Well done. If I'm not mistaken, Duanling Tian must have found someone to help him. In fact, Yang Yuchen's clones might be guarding the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Yang Yuchen is not someone to be trifled with. The old man, who was the deputy leader of the Monorigin divine sect, could not help but reveal a hint of fear in his eyes. If his law doppelganger is formed from the law he's good at, it'll be easy for him to kill a lower ultimate god. Don't make any rash moves without my permission. As long as we don't leave any evidence behind, Yang Yuchen won't be able to do anything even if he suspects the Monorigin divine sect. However, if we leave any evidence behind, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape unscathed. The subordinate inhaled sharply when he heard the old man's words. Lord Vice Sect Master, is it that serious? With your status, do you think Yang Yuchen will be able to do anything to you even if the matter is exposed? The old man snorted. Yang Yuchen won't be able to do anything to me. However, if the old man from the Myriad Law Academy intervenes, let alone me, even if there are 2 or 3 of me, I'm afraid the Monorigin divine sect will still hand me over. Let's keep quiet for a while. Duanling Tian must be furious, but there's nothing he can do, right? If you want to blame someone, blame him for not knowing how to appreciate favors and refusing to join our Monorigin divine sect. He can only blame himself for offending the holy son of the Monorigin divine sect. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.